we'll see how they set themselves up. As Rogue and Exalt have already taken spots that they may look like they're going to head up to the hill here and maybe camp out near the shacks up on top. A very viable position, but maybe still in their scout phase.
Yeah, definitely. It's in the scouting phase in the sense that where they are isn't the best place to fight in. It's rather to get a lot of information. But let's look at Rogue here, though, because Jazza has a nice line onto Exalt trying to take that garage building. Not landing any of his shots, but it's still putting pressure on them. Curious to see where Exalt are going to be bringing their other two players once they arrive back. If they're going to try and all group up in the same compound and kind of do a weird compound v compound shootout, or if they're going to try and take a separate place and do a little bit of a 2-2 split. But Rogue are all grouped up as 4 right now.
Yeah, it looks like Rogue is just maybe determining that this is the compound they're going to spend this first transition in. They've moved into a position where they can watch players entering onto the island, as we see Mr. TV approaching as well. Udyr going down. Looks like Method has set up on top of him. So Method landing a first kill here after securing that hilltop compound / shack area. Great for vision, but not the easiest to defend once everyone gets onto the island. A lot of the times you'll see the southern portion of the island. There's a few compounds down there that are well sought after, but it looks like now it's going to be a bit of a difficult transition as Penta is on the bridge as well. Mr. TV having to back off on the motorcycle.
Yeah, already going to be a little bit of a struggle for him. He's got a bike, though, so he'll be able to zip and zoom around everywhere, so I wouldn't be too worried for him. It's the rest of the team that's actually already on the island. They're missing their 4th, I think.
I haven't seen, the Penta, I haven't seen their 4th just yet, but it looks like Sane was able to grab that crate. So he's got that silenced M4, the ghillie suit, and the Mark 14. And here comes the rest of Penta. So, yeah, looking like they are playing with a few subs today. But Rogue and Method early and active here in the first transition phase. Everyone tries to get onto the military island.
Yeah, it's interesting. Penta, they camped it for a little bit, possibly because they heard the bike arriving, and they decided, you know what, we're already on this bridge. Let's see if we can't deal some damage. But they're not sticking onto the camp, which is definitely a good decision, especially when it's a solid military circle like this one. If it's one that can go either way, I wouldn't be surprised to see more squads camping it, sticking with the camp a little longer. But of course, when you know it's going to be a military base, that's kind of the trade-off of camping the bridge. Is like, okay, so we can deal some damage right now, but now we're going to have to be the ones to come in later. And then if people know that we're camping, they're just going to camp us. And so it makes sense that, especially when a circle like this one, you don't want to commit too heavily to it. And you see Penta right now. Don't know if they're going to be taking the hill or rather taking that building down to the base of it that you can see in the center of your screen.
It looks like they're going to be going to police station, the building we're looking at right now. That's a decent spot to hold. It's got good walls, good cover all around it, a few buildings they can split between. So it looks like Penta will set up at the police station area. I like this decision making. It is going to be a bit of a slow go for those who have managed to make it off the main island without too much issue. But right now, looking at the whole picture, we will see that they take a boat off the coast as well. So just looking at the rest of the transitions, how we're shaking out for teams like TSM and everyone at the north end of the map, we'll have to see how they're going to either swim or try and drive across or get to a coastal area to get through. So we'll get an overview shot there shortly.
Last few teams transition in. Yeah, it's a pretty slow early game. With it being a military based circle, everyone's going to be transitioning, and so when you see oftentimes when you see early game fights, that's when there's a team that's basically looted up where the zone is in a position that they want to keep, and they're just defending their spot from people trying to attack them. But when 90% of the teams in the lobby are having to transition to it, it's not going to be that many fights. Broder taking some ambitious shots, but I don't expect any of those to land.
No, shooting from the boats is very difficult, and just on the best of days, standing still is difficult. We see Dynamic Company getting in, so we'll have LFO taking another decent compound at the coast here. Now, for those who are behind, if you were given the option, are you swimming or are you trying to find a vehicle?
Yeah, that's a difficult decision.
Because right now we see no northern coastal compounds being held just yet. We see teams, United in North America is very good at holding those beach compounds and just making it difficult for those to get across in these military circles. And I'm surprised to see most individuals, at least in this particular case, taking inland compounds around the military base proper rather than trying to hold a choke point, which would allow them to kind of gatekeep those getting across. So the low ground compound we see right next to FCE is a decent hold, but mostly where Wick and company are set up would be good as well. But for now, it's going to be Pokes as a method holding most vision on this side of the map in their little perch atop this mountain.
Yeah, it seems that a lot of teams are favoring the western side, which makes sense. I actually agree with it. It's a little more central than the eastern side. But it's also the fact that transitions around this area are a little easier, and especially with Method Spot, there's a lot of information to be gained from this particular area, which is why I really like the fact that they were able to go to this spot. 8C throwing some shots out into some passing vehicles on the FCE. It lands a couple. Missy down a little low. If he goes by another compound, he could be at risk of having an early exit, but it seems that he's going to be making it safe because him and a teammate, multiple teammates, have been able to steal a compound for themselves. Pretty big compound, not taken so far. If the zone continues on this position, it could be really strong, but again, because it's closer towards the edge, it's obviously not as prioritized amongst other teams.
Well, we will see that first transition here very shortly. So as FCE and the compounds become fewer and fewer, you see them taking up another one here along the southern coast. This first shrink is going to determine what the rest of the team seem to be doing. I haven't even, TSM, I believe, is still in the blue right now. So that'll be a fairly centered shrink. So Novo will be coming out, TSM on the way down. It looks like we're going to have Rari in the game here. So Break, Rari, AMPR, and Vis are here. Yeah. And we will see another bit of a transition here. But for the most part, considering how much space is between these teams, we should see a little bit more of a standard issue second phase where everyone's just kind of poking at each other and settling into their new compounds.
Yeah, and I like how the circle's been treating us so far. It's been a comfortable military-based circle just because the first one was close. Oh, looks like a member of Zokti Nam actually gets taken out. Did these guys change their name?
Maybe. On the spreadsheet it's the same, so I'm sticking with that. So
no, they're looking for a new roster, and I was trying to think of a way to make a joke about how I only just now learned to pronounce this one. So, okay.
Hopefully, I'm used to it now as well. I'm used to butchering their name, so obviously that it's become comfortable.
And name.
Yeah,
got it.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
Got it. So that was actually LFO holding them out. Zoktin, Nam also trying to swim across. We'll see if they can get in Blade Cedo now, having to retreat. Meanwhile, Method on the top of this perch that they've held so far, looking through the trees, not a ton of line of sight directly onto LFO, but they have heard the shots and are investigating. Is Leighton, so very suspicious, moving around. Doesn't want to come too far down this hill, give any additional sight lines, but Method in a good spot for now. And we'll be through this next phase.
This is actually really bad for Zokti Nam right now because that's a wide field that they have to cross. The two players, one of which was already taken out, but along with Broder, were there on the coastline to help usher in the two others who are continuing to swim across. They don't have any vehicles. They came in via boat and then just their good old flapping arms and legs. So having to cross through and being gatekept like that so heavily on the edge is going to be real brutal for them. TSM right now parking right inside the zone, able to get some heals off if they need it before they continue their transition through. Actually, so they're not the last ones in. TSM. All right.
Yeah, there's TSM is transitioning now, but they did just pass by another team sitting there. Looks like Faze engaging here, taking a few shots up at the Knights, finishing off Survivor as they are pushed. Like, this is the one thing I love about watching Faze, is that everything that they do, they're doing as a unit. Like they're crossing in like a perfect square. Like they're so organized, and they have this ability to just be decisive in their fights. And they're really allowing in their movement no room for error, because if they all have to stop and turn, they're stopping and turning as four, and that's something that FaZe executes so well. So picking up an early kill on their transition through the bunkers here, so far so good. No need to use utility even. So that's a a bit of a lucky break that they don't have more eyeballs on them, but they are going to make it into the base proper. I don't imagine that they're going to. Well, they might stop in this bunker and kind of hold up on this hill, which we see teams do all the time. But factory is still open as well.
But you can't also ignore the fact that they dealt a lot of damage to the Knights even to be able to cross. That's such a dangerous cross no matter how early or late into the game it is. But we saw they even got a full kill and then took off a helmet of another player. So they landed those long-range shots to make that cross. And that just shows the multiple facets of how good Faze is. Haxede in the distance you saw, it took a little bit of damage from somewhere. But now Drayden right now also taking a couple of shots from across the way. That's actually coming from the middle of... But yeah, so that's the rest of Faze. They left Haxede behind. Don't know if that was because he was taking those shots or if they wanted to leave him on an alternate angle. But Jempty landing another shot on a Vox. They're doing heavy damage to Knights right now.
Every time that the Knights peek to try and take shots at Hax or whoever, they are immediately punished by Jempty. Like, Jempty has one of the best shots in the game and is one of the best overall fraggers in the game. And again, no utility being used here whatsoever. Just the fact that Jempty is able to put that amount of pressure onto Voxec, knocking his helmet and taking him down, allows Hax to rejoin his team without issue. So the power of Faze to prevent any level of pressure while returning fire almost immediately at all times really allows them a lot of flexibility and movement as they're now coming against Vitality, who's sharing the military base with them. And we are going to see the third Faze center mostly in the base. But we will see now Penta, Knights, TSM, and the late breaking Gustav and company have to get into the zone on the east, and Method and company having to come in on the west.
Fight breaking out right now. You don't want to come across Method. Multiple frags for them. Leighton getting a full-on kill. Brandon also gets taken down. AC gets taken down in return. So not without their own casualties, but a really good spread by Method. Turtle and AC both on the side. A couple of frags, and all the way to the final kill. Yeah, they are. They do. Two of their players are down and out, but they also took out the entirety. I believe that was LFO.
Yeah, a 2-for-4 trade where they don't actually lose anybody is the best possible scenario in a team fight. Looks like the troubles for Method, or at least the pressure for Method, is not going to stop FCE jockeying around the fence here. And now Faze staying active, putting pressure onto Vitality through the military base. They are being very aggressive here. They've heard the shots of Vitality in the barrels and are now putting pressure on them. Vitality actually having to deal with a transitioning FCE as well. So now Vitality in a bit of a pinch between Faze and FCE. Nade coming out now. That looks like it might land a little true. Right next to ours, I think. Haven't seen the explosion yet. No, not yet. But it looks like now Faze engaging with FCE. Vitality in turn returning nades. Here come the pressure in turn. And now it looks like that second nade might do some more damage. But right now it's Tuho Juho resing Digger, so it's going to be an interesting transition here. The Knights, everyone active. Dab landing right in front of Drayden, and he will take him out.
Yeah, actually doing a lot of damage. Drayden is for the Knights, so they are returning to fire. Even though they lost their player earlier, they took a lot of damage from Faze. They actually make the full loop around to the south side, preferring this area of this current zone and dealing some damage from this position. Method as well, also doing a lot of damage. Broder's the only one left from his team.
Method has him held outside the zone essentially. So with the close coming, Bruder's going to have to decide, am I going to just run into Method? He's got no other options really. He's stuck in a place where he has to leave or die to the zone, and Method has the ability to just back it off a little bit and get into the zone up on top of that hill. So no immediate imperative to sorry, it's not imperative for them to move as Bruder returns fire, hitting some shots on Turtle. Andy holding the wide peak, looking for a shot there. Bruder taking more damage, so it's going to be a bit of a tough transition here for Bruder, as now the circle is becoming a factor as well.
Yeah, now it's at his back. He's kind of running a little forward. You can see the power of the 8X on the M4, but there's really not much more that he can do at this point. He gets a drop, and that's good, and he's hoping that that'll allow him to continue pushing him, but the blue may be just too far ahead, and, well, Method, they didn't take any casualties, so they have more than enough eyes that they can send on this guy while still getting the revive on their teammates. So, Broder, I'm sorry, my dude, but I don't think I can expect too much.
It's likely going to be it. We've seen Faze now move all the way into the center, headed to the jail building, a popular drop in public games, the first jail building, just at the base of the radio tower. So they're going to be operating in that area near satellite. Vitality still in the barrels. So it's just a matter now of Vitality engaging with Faze just to determine who's going to have the the better gear, because these pokes through the barrels are not going to lead to too many pushes. I don't know if that full push would come out necessarily at this point.
Yeah,
But
that'd be
Jemty
ambitious.
just plinking. Yeah, he's just plinking away with that Car 98, doing damage to armor and helmets, etc. So we'll see how that works out for Vitality here. Now that we've seen another shrink staying relatively centered.
It's a little south, though, which takes out a lot of the full buildings of the military base and puts them more on the upper edge. And so this means that there's a likely chance that the ending circles are going to not have any like full compounds, just going to have a lot of the chest high full cover, like with the barrels and the planes, which is going to be interesting to see played around because we don't often see areas end in this game. TSM right now, it would make their way to the edge without taking 80 casualties, which is kind of that's kind of their style, it's kind of their thing. Shouldn't really be unexpected to them. But oh, this is another ambitious run by Penta trying to make their way through that gap in the fence. Slowed down the momentum a little bit, and they could be taking a lot of shots because of this, but it looks like the cover is enough. They're all able to stay alive, and actually bringing vehicles into this deep into the military base is going to be strong as well, because this is more movable cover for them to have. They have 4 vehicles.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to last. I do like the idea. The execution worked out for them driving in this stage of the game. In this particular area, should be okay considering how much natural cover and building cover is around them. But we see Vis and company with TSM setting up a similar situation out in the plains. So these planes provide decent line of sight and decent cover, and using those vehicles in conjunction with that will give you the best possible cover you can find if you're going to set it up yourself. Penta, however, is set up near the center of the zone with their vehicle, so they do have some flexibility. And Method looks like they're going to be crashing right across from Alliance. Alliance not able to land anything initially, just doing a little bit of damage to the vehicles. Leighton was taken low, him already being knocked once. Ooh. And he will be knocked again as Chronex from somewhere else has a sight line on him, just actually down by the garage building to the north. And now it's going to be Alliance and a little bit of Method here battling with Breaksco and company from Exalt, putting pressure on them from elsewhere.
Yeah, we saw them take this building from the very beginning, and they've been just able to chill out here this whole time, trying to do. Oh, they're actually doing some really good damage to Method. Can he land the final? Oh, one more, he can do it.
It looks like Method is in trouble here. They have pressure on 2 fronts.
Yeah,
trying to finish the red. As I think they might have been able to get it. I don't see him up yet. Looks like Turtle is going to come up. So they did lose Leighton. Leighton went down, but they do have the res back. Actually, as I say that, Chronex knocks Turtle again. So just trying to find a line of sight here that is not going to be shot. And Turtle is continuing to take damage 1 tick at a time. Will they be able to get the res? Chronex plinking away. 1 hit lands again. Another. Not sure if they're going to have to abandon this. Turtle does go up, and another down. So he will have gotten around the corner. So Turtle just trying to get inside. So this res should be able to stick as long as they can get it without any more damage. Alliance still nearby. The smoke comes out. Turtle will be rezzed for the 3rd consecutive time. Next one is going to be very difficult if he goes down again.
And nonetheless, you still have to wonder, even once they're able to stabilize right now, how are they going to get into the next zone? Because they're going to be, like, they're out of vehicles, out of a lot of health and utility. Looking over here, though, we do have Noxious in a little bit of a fight. Tuna Can did get dropped, we saw recently, and he's outside in the blue, and so there's no res going to be happening for them. They're going to have to continue in with just 2 of them. They barely have cover in this zone.
No, that upper... That I like the positioning, but that powerful spot with the divot has come out, so they are just on the edge of that formerly good spot. So they're going to have to decide now how they want to rotate through this next phase as Alliance repositioning or putting pressure onto the Knights. The Knights getting picked apart here, 1 team at a time. Every time they come across someone, they seem to take even more damage and a casualty.
Oh. As
we see here, Drayden down at the fence. It looks like Krama is trying to put some pressure back, but he's not going to be able to do it, and he's not going to be able to save Drayden. VZ in the background did go down and out, so Alliance has lost 1 as well. That Nade is trying to... Oh, did they do? Oh, so yeah, so Alliance taking some casualties here. Just trying to get into the plains cam as we see a northern shift in this next zone. Going to stay on the base.
Oh, can Shiv get the final? He does. He gets another shot at Kramer, and so I think Knights only have 1 standing member left, and only 1 member to continue out the game with, because that full kill did come through. Voxic, though, from the Knights was able to make his way into the zone, has a tiny little corner. I can't expect too much from him, though, looking at how his transition is going to have to continue after this.
We are going to see a vehicle. Yeah, it looks, we're going to see a vehicle transition here as Exalt. All these teams on the western side are going to use vehicles, or at least try to use vehicles to get across, as we see Rogue now engaging, taking down Cup of Magic. And it looks like Method might be able to sneak through while Exalt is taking most of the fire. And there they go. Simsy will finish it off, picking up a double there. Breaksco and the rest of Exalt being eliminated. No, Gustav is still there, having to break all the way around to get through. Rogue now transitioning, as well as Method, headed right into the remnants of Alliance. So we'll see here how Method, Turtle, having been down 3 times already, Andy a little bit behind with AC leading the charge. We'll see if they can get anything going here, as Rogue's taking casualties as well. And this is a very tough transition for these Western teams.
Yeah, just because of that open field leading into kind of like a moat around the military base. We see kills happening back and forth. Vitality, Shiv especially. I'm seeing him line up the leaderboard consistently, but also seeing a couple. Luxo just got a drop, I think. And now Method, surprisingly, actually able to bomb their way in. Eyes are suddenly off this position. We saw Knights and Penta take Alliance, take a lot of casualties from this position, just because everyone could see it. But oh, now 60 stands up, gets a drop on the 8C. Don't know if it's going to be answered back immediately by the 2 remaining players of Method. He does have a crossfire with another teammate.
He didn't finish it in time, and it looks like Lux stole his kill. So that's another pickup for Method. That's a big Hail Mary nade. They're going to land a little bit short, just short of Sigsy there. So now it's going to be Andy taking damage. I believe he already has been, he's been taken out. So Sigsy finishing that off. So now it's going to be, I think, Method eliminated here. Yep. So Method is out of this game. Knights still holding on to the edge of the zone. But for now, Faze is full strength and have been taking shots onto Vitality. So Vitality is still full strength, but have gone down a few times here. TSM full strength as well. So we will see some full strength teams headed here into the beginning of this end game. And we'll see how TSM reacts, having been mostly quiet through the mid game, now forced to move in to a territory including Faze and Vitality.
Yeah, I actually like it from Vitality. You saw earlier on the mini-map, they were in the previous zone, they're a little more spread out, but now in this next zone pop, they then kind of grouped up together to take more specific control of a particular area, which would be the northern edge. They know there's going to be a couple of teams coming up from there. They definitely know that Faze are in the building that they're in, and it's safe to assume there'll be a couple other teams. And so they're using these barrels, which are a nice place to play around if you can land your shots. It's not the best, most hard cover, but it allows you good maneuverability around the area as well. And so they could actually be a really big bane to any teams running them from the north side. And actually TSM, whether or not they recognize that, they're taking a more eastern path through along the edge of the blue. Still have running UAZs just barely, and they'll be able to.
Yeah, they're gonna push. They're gonna push this gap right into the remaining number of Knights. Who's actually he's stuck. He's inside the jet engine. That is the narrowest of cover. Like that, yeah. He can't. He's already taking damage. He actually can't come out because it's doing too much. So he's having to med. Sneaking out now. TSM has got no idea he's there. He will get in. TSM is about to have a nightmare situation unfold right in front of them. Rari, if he just turns a little bit to the right, he would see him, but he hasn't yet. Oh, surprise! Vis probably had a little bit of a lump in his throat there, yeah, but right. Absolutely able to take care of that. So TSM pushing that gap, landing themselves some nice cover with their vehicles on the southern end of the zone, but now it's going to be Faze clearing out behind them and then having to push into Vitality. Looks like they might have taken a casualty or landed a kill here already. Yeah, they did lose someone here already. I didn't see on the nameplates who it was, but regardless, as Mickey and a few of these guys are going to have to get the open here. Vexed Gaming versus Faze. Here we go.
Ooh, don't know if he spotted that nade coming out, but he definitely heard it. Mixie jumping down the corner. Blue's coming in now. Gonna take a couple of damage, but he doesn't want to cross that path just yet because he knows it's probably gonna get watched, but the smoke's actually gonna help him out as well. Crawling through, he's taking a lot of damage from the blue while trying to be the back line.
Vitality, yeah, Vitality's got them held in as well. So Vitality now, I was hoping to see a little bit of an earlier movement from Faze onto Vitality, but Vexed being there as well prevented that from happening.
Yeah.
So now it's Faze all of a sudden going down to only 1, and Hacks will take down I'm Larry there. And now it's just a bunch of trades as all of these zone teams are just picking apart those who are a little bit late. So now all of a sudden it's Razmiki by himself. So Vex goes from full strength to only one remaining very quickly. Faze does still stay 2 up and get the zone here. So now it's going to be an interesting transition. We have Alliance versus TSM here, Cam.
I don't know if TSM know that Alliance are there because we saw them bomb in with the vehicles. They may not be hearing Alliance if Alliance haven't been making too much noise, but Alliance definitely know that they're there. And so if TSM, if they don't clear their backside before they make their own way into the zone, which is going to be a rough transition as it is, could be taking a lot of damage from Alliance.
Alliance not in great shape. They looks. I don't think that Fever has armor on level 1 helmets shared there. So now Hax and Jempty, high level players. Or well, they're all high level, but as far as you know, Jempty being alive is a big boon for FaZe right now. As we see Penta running out of options, the vehicle cover no longer viable. They're receiving pressure from across with the Vitality. I'm not sure if TSM's got them lined up yet. But Vitality is in the zone, split out with FaZe. And right now it's a hope, essentially, that these border teams damage each other on the way into the zone and allow the flexibility for Vitality and FaZe to deal with each other. As it's now time to move, the circle is ongoing.
Yeah, TSM using their vehicles, but they could be taking a lot of damage in this. It's really good that they only have 1 per, because some of these vehicles are going to go up in flames. We're already actually taking a lot of damage from the blue as well. And this is a weird vehicle show, but oh, wow. This actually pops to the vehicle and gets a spray down onto Araxi.
He does land the kill. He has secured himself inside the zone. AMPR Marius there as well. So I believe they did lose 2 immediately, as Vis will go down. That nade being informed there, landing right next to him by Jempty. Monkey going down, trading, and Marius will be eliminated. So TSM will go out in 4th place. Vitality holding on to 3 members here, but FaZe being an absolute gatekeeper right now, shooting and finishing Alliance. So FaZe will take at minimum a 2nd place in game number 1 here with some decent kills coming out. Jempty landing 2, Hax with 3. Didn't see the total on the team just yet, but pops out and just destroys Shiv. Another shot landing onto Monkey. So Vitality versus FaZe. I think we've said this a few times in the last couple of weeks. We're in for some high power action here, Cam.
Yeah, this is great. And Jem to get the first frag is going to allow his teammate to push forward. Hexay takes a couple of shots, but now is crashing able to find the rest of the barrels. Second shot misses once again onto Monkey, and good for Monkey because he has no helmet.
Securing that circle. What they've done here is they put Hax at the center or at the forward position on the circle, allowing them to basically zone Vitality out. They have no room to maneuver. They will not be able to get into the zone without taking a 1-to-1 or trade situation with Hax with Jempty in tow. So Jempty playing the backup right now. Hax holding the angles of approach. He hasn't heard footsteps yet. We haven't seen any utility come out from Vitality. I'm expecting some smoke grenades here to aid them across. I'm not sure if they have any left, but they do have the meds to support this. Here come the smokes. The smoke will come out now, putting some pressure on the sight lines of Hax's right side. So we'll see if they're going to fake left or go left. But that smoke is going to provide some level of cover. Jempty now pressing out to look at that sight line, shooting into the smoke, seeing if he can land anything, and he will go right, going away from the smoke. So this is going to be a bit of a fake maneuver here from Shadow. Shadow looking for any level of sight onto Hax. Nothing yet. Only a few options to look at. Cam, this is going to be intense.
Yeah, and actually Shadow here, that was safe enough for his teammate to come up from behind him, but Hexay, does he get an angle? He may have seen a corner. He's definitely hearing the shot, so he knows that they're close, but they're only just barely on the side. Hexay takes a little bit of damage, wants to bandage, and Jempty lands another shot onto Shadow. That means Monkey left. Monkey wants to push out and gets a kill onto Hexay. Sees the head, but can't quite land the shot in the sliver of pixels available to him. And say he's going to run back and try and get a revive on his teammate to make it back up for a 2-on-2.
With the pressure now gone, Jempty knows that the res is coming and Hax is spreading out looking for anything here. They might be able to get the res, but Jempty's right on top of them. Split push coming. Jempty goes down. Shadow in the zone and unable to hold on to it. And an intense 2v2 ends with FaZe taking game number 1 in very dominating fashion, picking up a good amount of kills, but that was a very intense final 2. Vitality picking up 2nd place. Cam, do you go for the res there, or do you just try and clutch that?
Oh, it's a really hard decision to make. It looked like he wanted to go for the clutch for a first couple of like milliseconds, But FaZe were really good, and once they got that frag, they both hid for a couple of moments, which then pushed them back to try and get the res. And then it just becomes a decision on, do I fake the res? Because you saw Hexete, he was a little slow on his peak on the left side while Jempty was coming along the right, because he was waiting just in case. He didn't want to do the full rush just in case it was a fake res. There's no one real answer to play. You have to just go off of game sense and even just trying to outsmart the person you're particularly playing against, because at this point they knew they were up against each other. But FaZe going first, Vitality getting second, you can't really wish for anything less than that. Alliance with a good third, TSM in fourth, and then Penta actually able to sneak their way into fifth. And I say sneak, but they are actually getting a good number of kills that we weren't paying too much attention to, so really good job for particularly all these top fives. That is, unless you have any final words, this is going to be it for us.
No, I'll save my thoughts for the loot phase in game number 2.
All right, actually perfect planning. Well, that is going to be it for us right now. We're going to go to another break while we set up game number 2. It is 4 games today in EU, so we do have a lot more PUBG action coming right up. Don't go anywhere. and we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to game number 2. Auzom Premier League, EU, lobby number 1. Cameron Davis, Moses, Skyline on the observatory. Yeah.
How are you? Game number 1.
Good transition.
Very
Good transition.
intense.
I'm good at my job.
You know what? The end there in the military base was super intense and also interesting to see how teams, utilizing vehicles, utilizing everything available to just try and stay in cover. But ultimately, we came to Faze and Vitality, the 2 powerhouse teams in this lobby. Among a field filled with talent, rising above time and time again, but always seeming to be near each other. So a bit of a rivalry developing, I would say, if not fully entrenched at this point, as we see this plane path coming through the left and center of the map. A lot of options for landing in this early game, so we'll see how teams shake out. But Cam, the relentless Faze never stops moving. They're always, as a group, they're always taking any available fight. They react immediately. How do you deal with a team that is always on their toes and always pushing the pace?
You have to land your shots on them in return, but we saw just how difficult that was. The Knights were the first ones up on the bat, and they took way too much damage than you would even expect, considering Faze's position and how early into the game that we were. That just shows you the strength of Faze's roster and their plan, their strategy, how they play this game works so well. And that's one of the multiple reasons why they are at the top and in contesting for, like, they're at the top. There's really no way to argue that number 1 is either them or Vitality. The real argument is on which one, but they're definitely in the top 2.
Absolutely. I mean, between Faze and Vitality, at least in the European arena, I would say that they are 1 and 1A as far as their consistency is concerned. Vitality always seeming to find a way into the top 5, either through precise movement or tight transitions or pure skill, whereas we are headed again to the military base. So we will have a very similar circle to game number 1, except Nova will not be in play. So we'll see now. Will we be able to run this game back? I like sometimes from time to time when the circles, replicate each other, but that's only to see. Now that we've seen one game play out with all these same teams with the same circle, will it unfold in a similar fashion? Will Vitality opt to skip Milta and go straight to the military base? Will Method come from Pachinki early? So we'll see now how they react to similar circumstances, Cam. But yeah, right now it seems that the loot phase is fully underway. If you're Vitality in that situation, going for that res, is there a situation in your mind that you just try and throw grenades, get utility, throw the, that's the one thing that I think was missing from that little sequence.
Yeah.
No more nades came out, and it was just a 1v1 push, essentially. But at this point, you can't really nitpick because the game went the way it went. But would you be a little bit more safe if you're Faze, try and get some grenades in there, or was it just a matter of seizing the opportunity?
Once they got that first drop at that final drop in the end, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to push that. They got the down, and even if I forget which of the 2 from Vitality was still standing, but even if that individual was still standing and trying to take the fight, that's still a 1v2 in your favor. And if he was trying to go for the res, that's essentially a 1v0 in that little corner once you peek around the side. So there's no way that doesn't go in your favor no matter what decision the other team makes. They made the absolute 100% correct decision once they got that drop to have that push on both sides. They weren't coming from the same sides to be a potential lineup spray down. They were coming from multiple sides for a crossfire, and there was honestly, once they got that drop, there was no way that Vitality was going to win that once he went behind to go for that res. If he attempted to get a trade knock right off the start and then make it a 1v1, there could have been a chance. But once he went back around that corner, I don't see how there's any way it could have played out otherwise.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And really looking at the way Vitality played that, you got to wonder if the last man standing and the circle about to close, does that play in? Is that something that you think about when you have an up to I think it's 10-second cast right on the res, but it's a situation where you kind of have to determine am I gonna put myself with my back against a closing final circle that will kill me immediately, or at least my down teammate, or do I face the onslaught of two pressing Faze players? I think that they made the right decision, but or at least the decision that could have been 50-50. The res was successful, but didn't leave them any time to maneuver afterwards.
Yeah.
We will see Method running it back, headed up the mountainside, seeing if they can maintain that vision that served them so well in the early game last time. However, Method, they didn't have a nice transition across from here next time. I think maybe learning a bit of a lesson here. Andy taking away that garage building that was held by Exalt last time that kind of led to their demise.
Yeah, they're
so
actually
we'll see here. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, just a Method. You know, they're doing the early transition again. I think this time they're even earlier because they really wish that they had that building. Andy's going there by himself. They're doing a 3-1 split, which we've seen be a little controversial at times, as I guess you could say, or it's risky at times because if Andy gets pushed by himself, depending on the sight lines that his teammates have on the hill above him. Let's look over here though, because Zoctinam, a team that weren't very successful, I believe they went out second to last. They're in a little bit of a fight. They're able to chase down Razmiki from Vexed. But Mikaz, not Razmiki. Mikaz does find a vehicle and able to take his way out of there right when the backup from Zoctinam arrives. So Mikaz may have just barely been able to find some means of escape.
Yeah, we'll see here. I don't know if we're going to see some of the same early transitions that we saw from everyone. Penta landing a little bit further north. I think they still were in the Razak area. Alliance early across this time around. They were late to the zone last time as well. So we'll see here Method engaging with Razmiki just down in front of him at the next group of buildings. I don't think Razmiki has any incentive to push out just yet, so he will tuck back into the vehicle or into the compound there. You see a vehicle with a crate next to it. I think they might have lost one already. So LFO transitioning as well. Leighton putting pressure on everyone around him. That AK spray down not landing. So we'll see here Method being aggressive and active in the early game, trying to harass everyone that comes near them. But Leighton is split out from his team.
Yeah, this is bad. It looks like he was actually pushed away. There was a transition down to the garage building onto Andy. Looks like there's another team, I believe, that's actually Alliance that came in to take up the spot that was once held by them. Looking over here, though, it is going to be Noxious Crispier specifically trying to take some shots on FCE Rs. Ooh, actually, I thought he was out, but landed one nice shot. That must have been to the dome. And then one more to the chest is enough to drop him. And I don't know if there's anyone from FCE around to get the revive, especially because, well, that's the full kill going to be coming through from Crisper. So FCE going to have to find a different way through, but now it looks like Penta are the next one. Next one's up to bat against this bridge camp. Are they going to the bridge or going to the water? I think they're going to the bridge. Or are they stopping on the hill? Looking for the camp. Yeah, Simsy actually spots out Crisper. Sends some shots. There's a lot of windows on that building, which is one of the biggest weaknesses of it. Crisper, he's actually just going to jump out. Doesn't want to take this fight. Maybe pop into the bike that we saw in the corner. Make his own way out. But Andy, actually, in military base, gets dropped by Rogue.
Yeah, we see here Penta actually stopping and decided to take this fight with Crispier. And now Rogue, having taken up in their previous building, Crispier actually looking at Penta as they approach, putting some pressure there. Penta pressing as 3, trying to rotate around and get an angle here. This hill will allow them to get all the way up on top of this building. There are 2 here. I'm not sure if they're going to start gathering info using their vehicles. Ultra there, Simsy there as well. They do have Zoctinam actually approaching as well from the north there. So they are engaged in essentially a 2-way fight. Zoctinam easier to engage considering their open position, as Bruder just desperately trying to get through the woods here. The uncharged charging in behind him, and he will go down. So that's 1 down and out for Zoctinam here. They did have a successful first game, I believe, last week, but right now Zoctinam is just having trouble transitioning from their loot spot into this first zone, losing one here early. And Penta harassing all around them, is going to try and crash this building, or at least get to the shack. But unfortunately, Mini Fridge was waiting, pressed outside from the garage, and took down Simsy on his transition. So that crash unsuccessful, and looks like Penta is going to try and cover Simsy as Tamil puts pressure on a Crispier in that top window. Mini Fridge Jr. there to support as well. Cam, do you try and get this res?
No. Absolutely not. I don't exactly.
Sorry, teammate. You're dead. You had your chance.
Yeah, I don't exactly know why he made the bomb. They may have not seen Crispier's teammates arrive and thinking that it was going to be only one person holding that building, but turns out there were actually a full 3 people in that compound at this point. And when you have that many people, it's definitely a good position to put one of them on the side, like they did with Mini Fridge Jr. to get that spray down. And now it's going to be a 3 versus 3 at this point, and Penta, do they want to keep... The real question right now for Penta is, do they want to stick on this fight, or do they want to maybe take the early swim to eventually make their way across the military base?
My thinking, looking at the way that fight played out, is that Simsy wanted to essentially establish a foothold in that compound. Now, we saw this in a game last week with a North American team trying to displace a well-entrenched compound-laden enemy. And they were unable to do so. They were able to do so, rather, by essentially getting a can opener maneuver into one of the buildings on that compound. So with Simsy going in there to try and establish that foothold, that essentially allows them to put pressure on them from close and far. And Crispier would then have to decide whether he wants to deal with the immediate threat right below him or maintain line of sight on the rest of Penta, which would allow them to move up or at least continue to apply pressure. So that's kind of the thinking I believe that Simsy had, or that any team would have when trying to displace a team in a compound. As we move now over to Knights in their own compound, holding a choke point against Vitality on this bridge. We'll see if they can maintain that position. Voxic with that 8x and Scar, and Vitality trying to find a seam to get across here underneath the bridge.
Ooh, Drayden was able to make a pass. It actually looks like Vitality... Did they take the dive over into the water? For a second, it looked like they... Because Drayden, I don't know how he was able to make a pass if they were actually on that bridge. But okay, no. Don't know if that was in the water or not. They would make it way across. Okay, you know, we don't know exactly how. Wasn't able to figure it out while watching. But they're also in one vehicle, which we can, as we all know, is really, really risky at times.
Well, it's risky all the time. One bad transition through a team that you don't see, and next thing you know, they all go down at once. It looks like Rogue.
Yeah.
Fills up with an AWM here.
Yeah,
so
he's been popping heads actually this whole time. He's kind of been there sprinkling in on the kill feed while we were watching fights elsewhere along the map. So we didn't see Rogue do too much from this position, if I'm not mistaken. But having an AWM on their side, ooh, they could actually be doing a lot more this game.
I am filled down with no one to help right now, and Rogue using this opportunity to leave their initial compound and get into the military base proper. Let's take a look at how this circle has shaken out. So they are moving into the base. I am filled down. We will have a centered circle, so most of the water, the channel still in, leaving some options. Actually, that circle leaves some options for teams to cross without having to utilize the bridge. As we see Gustav Trifoli forming up at the eastern bridge. Meanwhile, Sane crashing right on top of LFO, I believe, and Sane getting tangled up in that UAZ. They do a little dance and down he goes. So I don't know if that was an intentional crash or just circumstance, but can't help his teammate right now, as LFO has got all sorts of pressure onto Purge, and there he goes. Kaint goes down, and that might be it for them. So yep. That's a tough one right there.
That's LFO out first. Very rough sound. We've seen any team in that little valley dip at the South Ridge not have a very, very successful time, no matter who it is. It's helpful because you actually have a wide stretch of land to use, but the cover isn't the greatest, no matter from which angle you're looking at. Rogue, though, they're actually taking Vitality's previous position. They saw just how powerful it was. Vitality going to be more towards the east side. Seeing multiple teams still transition through, and actually a team is camping TSM. This is fun. Multiple teams actually.
Well, it's Lumber Mill, and it looks. I think it's Exalt. Some members from Exalt have break tied up here. So right now TSM is stuck outside the zone. They have two teams pressuring them. Break trying to get some vision across to where Lumber Mill is, preventing any transition right now. They are holding on to it. AMPR actually takes down Gustav, so that'll allow some time and space. Gustav down and essentially out now because his team is nowhere near to help him. They're at the gas station. The gas station, a terrific choke point, but once you come outside that wall, you lose all ability to defend yourself. You have to fully commit. So TSM is split. That is something that I actually talked to Break about just over Twitter DMs. I asked him if this is intentional. It is. They do try and maintain these splits for vision, But right now, I'm not sure if it's serving them well, Cam.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really difficult situation, I think, for a lot of these teams right now, because at what point do you have to question if, oh, okay, actually, we were camping them, but now suddenly we can't move because, like you were saying about the gas station. At the same time, TSM are almost camping them, but Vis does spots out the two
Vis.
from Exalt Gaming, lands some really nice shots and gets the full down as well. Not allowed the play zone to take that. Can get another one of Chronix. Chronix behind the tree, trying to heal up to continue to run through. Breaks go though, he's not getting revived. There's no point in that. But Chronix now, I don't think he has a vehicle nearby. So it's going to be rough for him to try and get into the zone, whether or not TSM are there at this point.
Popping the smoke, giving himself some opportunity to move, but there is nothing but fields around him as Rory is pushing all the way up to try and secure this kill. Chronix having to move backwards. This is not good for anybody, to be clear. This is not a good situation. This is not a winning situation for anyone in this spot right now. They're using their meds. They're plinking away. They're taking damage. It's not a good situation here for TSM. Rory with that level 1 vest, if he takes any level of damage from Chronix, even if he wins the trade, it's going to be a problem for him later as he's putting pressure down onto Chronix, just throwing grenades, trying to finish this off. So you got to wonder, is this going to be worth it in the end for TSM?
Absolutely not, but this wasn't a decision that they made. It was a decision made for them by these other teams, and the reason why you see Rory pushing Chronix, if I'm not mistaken, is because they don't want to get backstabbed and they have to take him out. In the meantime, though, AIM-PR did get taken out by Wookie Bookie, the other team just to the south of them. And so TSM, they can't be feeling comfortable at this point. They have to take a move, but these players still here. And the thing is, I don't think any of these, I think these players here still have either paths into the zone or teammates already in the zone. So they're not full, the team isn't full committed. TSM is the only squad out here that is fully committed in. And so this is a lot of trouble for them. No matter, even if they're able to finally make their way out, they'd be taking a lot of damage, a lot of med usage. You can see Vis is already down to, I mean, it's still 4 first aid kits.
Well,
but considering how TSM play,
these are things that they need. Yeah, this is meds that they're going to desperately need, and there's a very real chance, depending on how Wookie Bookie and the rest of Lumbermill decide to play this. Wookie Bookie's still holding on the edge of the zone. He knows there's more to come. He's already killed AIM-PR. He has not seen anyone else coming just yet. He's looking at the coast to see if they're going to try and swim. That vehicle is going to be making some noise here, so Wookie Bookie is in a position to pop up on this ridge. TSM is all in one vehicle, and he's going to do just that. He's waiting for them to come. He can hear the vehicle. This could be disastrous. About to breach. Is he going to look the right? He's looking the wrong way. TSM might slip right past him. He switches to the red dot, waiting for it, and he will allow them to drive right on by. TSM dodging a literal and figurative bullet there, getting across, but the woes are not over just yet, as they're going to be taking lots of damage here in this zone. It looks like there was one left behind for TSM as well. Looking at the zone, we will stay relatively centered, break the last man across for TSM, but even Zokta, Nam, and a few other teams are still held outside the zone. Very real possibility that some of these people die to the zone, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely, because the second circle is moving, or sorry, third at this point, is still moving in. I mean, once it closes in, it's the uptick of damage is only going to be even worse. Faze here holding point on the edge of the circle, dodges the vehicle thrown at him, and gets a full-on kill. Stab, though, making his way down the cliff side. He's going to be alive for now, and so at least Lumbermill have one more inside the circle. I believe it's just Stab and Wookie Bookie left, and Wookie Bookie, as we just saw previously, was still outside having to make his own way in, but at least Stab can maybe find a little cubby to hold himself in and try and outlast until later in the game. Minifridge now, actually on a bike, able to make his way through multiple beams of light on the mini-map, but he does get dropped. There you go, Voxic does finally find that shot. And this is essentially what we saw from the previous game, unsurprisingly. Just once the circle is going in on the military base, people trying to bomb in, but the team's already here. Oh! Jazz are trying to take some shots, but instead he takes a little bit of damage in return from the Knights.
Yeah, it looks like Faze is transitioning in vehicles, but Rogue has taken the dominant position in the barrels that we saw Vitality holding last game. So Mr. TV, Tunican trying to retrace the steps of their down compatriot here as we see Noxious trying to breach through the fence, trying to aim, trying to get through there without crashing, and not quite making it through there. Mr. TV not threading the needle quite cleanly, but does make it through unscathed so far. The Knights have taken up on the hill. Alliance sharing the jail and the barracks area with the remnants of Noxious Gaming. Wookie Bookie taking down Cup of Magic elsewhere on your screen. So it's Exalt. Looks like they're sadly standing still, and Wookie Bookie still outside the zone, still doing damage. He's on his way. He's picked up 2 more kills. So Wookie Bookie using his effectiveness to maximum effect. Well, butchered that. But regardless, Wookie Bookie on the way in, and we see Penta tied up here with Raz Mickey and company.
Yeah, it's a really bad situation for them. Tommy already got it down. They use the smokes to maybe get the revive, but we see that there's a couple of helmets already missing from one of them. They actually already taken a casualty from earlier into the game. As Mickey gets fully taken up by a nade elsewhere, but it's only just Mikaz and well, no, there's 3 people here on the edge, but it's actually Penta that's holding them back, because Penta the one's closest to the zone.
So they're unfortunate for Wookie Bookie, picked up by TSM, who's made it into the military base. And, you know, going back to what you're just saying, Cam, Penta holding out one team, Vitality transitioning to the air traffic control tower via vehicle, Monkey, and it looks like they're going to be headed to the plains now. So this will be a make or break transition for Vitality. Rogue is there already at the plains, moved across. Moving right on top of Stab. Stab inclined to just stop. Will he pop? Will he drop any of Vitality here as they get across? Not so for Stab. But Penta still harassing as I Am Larry and the rest of his squad get away. Faze taking up that southern compound. And we have very little compound cover left. Only the fence and a few other spots here. Vitality taking natural cover, Cam. We'll see if Faze and Vitality meet again. Yeah, we'll see if they meet again here in the end game.
Yeah, Vitality, we've seen time and time again, or at least I've been able to observe from my perspective, that they really like playing on hills because it allows them to take a lot of shots out at any team coming in. And so right now you can look at their position in the zone. This is their prime. This is a power spot for them. FaZe, though, are able to spot them out. We saw a couple of shots traded out onto them, so we see we can't do too much damage. Actually, not a lot of cover. You see that's just a valley directly from that compound onto them. So this UAZ is going to be putting in a lot of work. But in the meantime, let's see if Vitality can't catch out an open transitioning Penta. No cover for these 3 players trying to make their way through. Luxno, not even a red dot on the car 98. Wants to wait to get that lineup.
Why aren't they
on
shooting?
The shot. I don't know.
There we go. I was like, what's happening? Why isn't this starting?
Yeah, okay.
So it looks like actually for Penta, they're going to be stuck in line with Vitality, who's already transitioning around in vehicles. Method there right in the center. 8C chilling in that little house has the ability to put pressure onto both teams as Monkey is just flailing around on the motorcycle. Looks like they're going to back it off into these rocks. That's the best possible natural cover they can find. But now the woes begin for Penta as Method and Vitality are shooting right at them as they were transitioning in the open. Only Ultra left standing and with very few options, Cam.
Yeah, he is prone behind the tree, so it looks like he is going to be able to stay alive for now. But it's only going to get worse for him because he is on the very edge of this zone. So once the blue closes in, it's likely going to be swinging at least marginally off of him. A couple of teams still in the military base itself, and if they have to make the transition out, it's gonna be a little difficult for them, which is one reason why we saw Vitality make the instant dive outside, because they want out of all that nonsense that comes with being in a more, I guess you could call it a city. Not exactly.
Well,
a city,
it's a coin flip too, Cam, because if you see the circle the way it's set up now, it could go north or south as Rogue begins to engage with Alliance. Alliance, you know, having to deal with these shots coming from Rogue, who are at the plane in front of them. Meter already going down. This res should be able to get off, but if it goes north, it's going to be a very tough transition for teams like FaZe and everyone at the southern end of the circle. But the circle does tend to adjust large groups of buildings, and the military base is just that. So we'll see if these southern teams get lucky or if the circle takes another victim. Or several.
Yeah, probably several. Andy's thinks he has a little bit of an angle on a Vitality. It's actually going to be Mikaz that does get the finishing kill on another one of those players. So Vitality now down to 2. It's only Shiv and Monkey alive at this point. Hiding in smoke, and looks like their both transitions, weren't able to find anything as comfortable as they hoped. And, well, it moved away from most of the buildings, but now we're going to have a plain ending. Or at least it was likely to be a plain ending, and this is interesting because I haven't seen something like this. It's probably going to look a lot like what we saw at the ending of last game, except, well, even more chaotic, because planes hardly count as cover with all the curves and the angled the wings, and
yeah, you can shoot at feet. You can see under them, as we see here. Jazz kind of showing us they are not they're static cover, but they're not predictable or uniform. So we see, looks like Mixie is going to be the one to try and get in first, leaving his team behind, trying to crash onto the fence here. It looks like that's going to be the only option they have. Mixie is going to land right next to Stab, so we'll see if Stab can be able to do anything. He landed in front with Mixie, and Mixie is going to be able to not return fire directly, so Mixie here. This is a difficult situation for FaZe. At the very least, they are very far from the zone, as is our Team Vex down there. So we will see at the fence if TSM will be able to get anything set up, but they have to break away as they receive fire immediately. So the fence is going to be very vital. Cover if they can get there, and TSM will be able to land relatively safe. But Rogue playing gatekeeper along this edge. FaZe already losing one. Rari going down, so TSM will lose one as well. And this is a hectic transition camp.
Yeah, it is not under two. And I think we also saw Vitality go out as well. Foley, I believe, in 12th place, which is never a scoreline that we expect to see from this team, especially not coming after a number 2 finish. But looking to the rest of the game, Niels gets taken out. 11th team out by Andy. Method right now, they had a very struggle. They had a big struggle in the first game, but right now they're able to find a foothold in this compound. But Leighton is going to have to be the one to usher them all in, because their compound is now finally taken out of the zone. Ultra from Penta trying to make his own little run, crouching down, hoping he doesn't get spotted because the blue is right his back, and we saw how much damage he was able to take. But all these smokes here in this valley,
it's gonna be
TSM and Method, smokes and grenades being thrown out by both sides, and Andy gets dropped by Break. Continual nades afterwards don't find their mark, and Method's nades in return didn't seem to go far enough to hit TSM back.
The fan favorite Method and the fan favorite TSM engaging here. We will see the Knights playing spoiler to that 2v2 as they take down Leighton as well as AC. So Method, just like that, while making it to the fence, are eliminated. Fuzzface and I think that, I'm not sure who's left, it might have been Hacks there, are still with FaZe. But we do see Rogue now intermingled to an, well, they were intermingled there shortly there, but it's actually the Knights and Alliance battling on the edge of the zone. So we'll see the Knights trying to get an angle onto Alliance, but they are returning fire. Drayden going down to VZ. Stab at the edge of the fence all by himself, and Rogue right now 4 strong in the zone with the circle, in great position here to take control of this end game as the Knights and Alliance plink away at each other, and the remnants of the damaged teams holding on to the edges.
Yeah, Rogue, they do have one of their players dropped down right now that could potentially revive on that, but in the meantime, let's look at this fight between Alliance and Knights. These teams, whoever wins this wants to win it fast, because it's going to be a long, difficult transition into the zone, no matter how many people they have left alive. But a couple of knocks onto Knights puts Alliance in the immediate advantage. But unlike other times we've seen knocks in previous fights, there's no avenue for a full push onto them just because of the distance between the two squads is too great.
Not to mention the fact that Rogue is just right in the middle there.
Yes.
They can't, I don't think they're going to go for a res here on Jazz. They don't want to try and risk that transition. You see Alliance just trying to find a way in here, but ultimately the zone now being the biggest enemy to both of these teams, as the Knights are going to have to jump on vehicles, and this is terrifying for them as they immediately start receiving fire from all angles. They should be able to get to the plains. Looks like they might get across, but they are still not in the zone. Stab and TSM there as well, actually on the fence. Looks like they're going to pop up and try and steal some kills. Knights up on the wing there, having to jump off, and it actually lands right on top of Nayu. So last remaining member of LFO will go down, and ultimately it's going to be Rogue just playing gatekeepers. But nice transition, and Alliance now left out in the cold with only the circle at their back.
Yeah, no, actually Knights, that is a really good transition from them. They went in like a 1-by-1 turn, but able to find their way 3 in the zone and 1 just holding their back. But right now it is going to be Rogue, still 4 strong, taking shots at Alliance. Alliance, on the other hand, they tried to use smokes to be able to cross their way into the zone, and it's not working out so well for them. All 4 get sprayed down from mostly Rogue, but a little help from Knights. Okay, no, Fever still. Okay, now he's down. All right. Mostly Rogue, a little help from the Knights, and now Knights are still 4 strong too. So we thought it was going to be a problem for both of those teams in the north, but Knights are able to find their own way in, and this is going to look good for them. Y and CK Dropping on Hexede should leave only Fuzzface alive, but Fuzzface, well, he hasn't been spotted, but his bike has. So Rogue may suspect someone's behind that tree.
He is in the zone. We will see if this will stay on the plains or transition across the fence. So Rogue and Knights now engage directly. TSM sneakily hanging on as well. So we'll see what effort these 1- and 2-man squads can mount here. So I don't know if Knights want to press directly. The circle has transitioned onto the plains, essentially favoring Knights, but they are not in just yet. So it's going to be Rogue maybe pushing along the fence line to try and get on top of Knights, or at least to get into that zone. And now TSM, unfortunately, has been spotted out. Break, the last man standing, crawls backwards to try and avoid the grenade, but it's ultimately going to be the Knights picking up the kills onto them. So now Penta, Fuzzface, or sorry, it's going to be Ultra, Fuzzface versus the Knights and Rogue. Rogue 4 strong here, Cam. What's the game plan?
I like this. They're doing a 2-2 split. 2 here on the chest high wall and 2 still in the plains to try and take control as much as they can. They are going to need to worry, or at least I'm worrying for them about Fuzzface. Could be taking dealing damage to them from behind, but I don't expect Fuzzface to be doing too much more because this transition into the zone is going to be way too difficult. And even if he deals a little bit of damage to Rogue, they're going to do a clean 180 onto him. But that damage may be enough to allow Knights to take the win here. Knights, you're right, they are closer, but they haven't been able to find a foothold in the zone just yet. Instead, right now, they're spraying down the 2 players in that ridge on the side. Drayden making the push now ahead, trying to use smokes, try and get to that plane that's in the center.
Yeah, that's the big issue right now is they can't get any forward position. Ewing does go down and likely out here. They're not going to be able to get a res. Buzzface might be forced to med here. As I say that, the play zone takes him down. So that will be Faze going out in 4th place. So Penta will secure 3rd, unless a miracle can happen for Ultra. But he's not far from the zone. And right now, the Knights and Rogue are chipping away at each other. The Knights on top of this plane, taking as much of the sight away from Rogue as possible, forcing them to stay low. Low on the fence, but low in the zone is Rogue. So now it's going to be up to the Knights to push away from cover. And this is where Rogue wants them. They're going to want to pop up here and try and do some damage. As we see Ultra trying to get into the zone, crawling his way. We see Rogue now taking one down off and trading. Survivor taking one down from Yannick. So now it's a 1-to-1 fight. We'll see if Rogue or the Knights can take this game away. Jazz in the zone, actually taking lots of damage. He will go down. So all of a sudden, things have turned for Rogue, and it's the Knights actually now looking like they have this game in control. But 1 man down, 2 man up. The res coming. Ultra chilling at the edge of the zone, wondering, what did I have for breakfast this morning and what's for lunch?
Okay, so, yeah, you joke about it, but Ultra actually has a clear shot right now just because of how damaged both Knights and Rogue are, and they're so focused on each other. If they don't spot him, he could actually get a clean second, depending on how much damage the remaining team has. Could even get a first, able to wait it out. Fuffins peeks up, tries to get some shots onto Drayden, but, oh, that fence blocks just enough bullets. Can't get a full revival in a Y and CK either, is too afraid of nades at this point, I think, or an angle. Survivor. I think actually it was a revive. Yeah, there was a revive on the Knights as well, so it is still 3 strong.
They do have the ability and cover to get this res off, and now it's up to Survivor. Does he want to press this? Drayden actually finishes Yannick, or knocks him after that res, so he does knock him again, so Yannick is basically out. So the Knights do have the advantage here. Fuffin's taking some damage, but actually trades with Krama. Krama going down. Drayden has the angle, still 2v1. Now it's up to Ultra. Like you mentioned, Cam, he has the ability here to pop up and do some damage, but he's going to run right into Drayden. Drayden spots him. Ultra, unfortunately, unable to react, and it is going to be the Pittsburgh Knights taking game number 2 here. Penta sneaking in and taking 2nd place away from Rogue. A lucky break there in the end game as Rogue, unfortunately, takes a tough 3rd place. It's Faze taking 4th. They actually only played with 3 that game. Jempty, one of their strongest players, not in the game. And TSM sneaks in to take number 5. Cam, well played by the Knights there in the end game.
Yeah, absolutely. We thought that Rogue did actually. There's no thinking. They absolutely had the advantage positionally, but took too many casualties while trying to maintain control. Knights landed a lot of their shots and able to get enough of the revives, keep themselves healthy enough for the remaining fight at the very end. And they take number 1 with actually 15 kills. They were dealing damage to many teams throughout the entirety of that game, so a well-deserved victory for them. At the same time, though, FaZe and TSM, while not in the top 3, once again, still maintain themselves in the top 5. I believe Penta was 4th on game 1, too. So, good job by both of these 3 teams, especially for seeing TSM. We were really worried about them because of that bridge camp, but they were able, just barely at the end, to make their way in and outlast to be in the top 5 once again. And so, they're still looking strong, even with the really arduous early game for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, action-packed here, game number 2. We will take a short break here and come back for game number 3 very shortly. Don't go anywhere. The big names out to play today. We'll see you in game at number 3.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 3 here at the Auzom Premier League. Cameron Davis, Moses, Skyline, the 3 buddies that you all know and love. And the match should be starting in just a couple of moments. I don't know about you, Moses, but I'm hoping that we get something that is not a military-based circle.
I don't know. I kind of like seeing the same circle over and over and over again.
Fair.
So I say back to the military base. Everyone continue to try and drive and survive.
Okay,
And try not to, yeah, you know, no, I'm joking. I don't want to see military again. I mean, it's better than water circles over and over again for sure. But I don't think that these guys are getting enough time and space to maneuver. But ultimately, like I mentioned in the beginning of the first game, we will see some level of strategy develop when you see similar situations kind of present themselves when teams all in the same lobby having to face the same circumstances. It allows you to see who rises above. In last game, it looked like Rogue had it in hand, but Pittsburgh Knights out of well, not necessarily out of nowhere, using cunning decision-making and execution, were able to secure that first place finish with a bunch of kills. And even Penta showing up in the top 5, able to sneak their way in there, and Rogue with a 3rd place finish. We see here Penta going back to their home near Razak. We'll see what we have here in the early game.
Yeah. One final thing I will say about the previous 2 games is that while they're on military base, at least they were good military base circles. They weren't water military or just weird, wonky in between stuff like that. So if we do have more circles, I hope they follow that general pattern because those actually aren't as bad. But looking at this plane route, very northern. It's on the northern half of, well, the northern half, I should say, of Aranjol. And so it's going to be an interesting transition. You don't often see this plane route. And so, like, especially with this plane route, I really hope it's not a military base circle because then we're going to see virtually no time for looting for any of these teams. In fact, I'm even curious on where Rogue are going to go. They're going to North George. They're not even going to attempt to make their way into military base. They're going to go immediately right alongside Exalt Gaming, who, well, they didn't get a full casualty, but a drop and a lot of damage given to them right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a missed parachute or if they got tangled up with each other because actually Breaksco and Cup of Magic both low.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Concerned maybe a bit of a drop bug or something like that. Regardless, they're going to have to find some meds. Cup of Magic still low. Might have received some pressure. Rogue is in the area, but no one with direct line of sight onto them just yet. Might have been Yannick, but regardless, Exalt will stay full strength. Rogue by Yannick by himself currently, but the rest of the team nearby, and we will see that first circle.
Oh yeah. This is fun, and I say fun because it is weird and interesting. It's oftentimes we have personal experience commentating together in circles in this area of the map just earlier this week, but this one is just on like the west of what we saw on Tuesday, I think it was. This includes Zarky in the first circle. The Zarky fields, which you don't often see them, but if they're in the ending phase of the game, are very fun to watch. And what I'm curious now, though, are teams like Vitality and Milta Power back in their homes. Vitality and Milta, Faze and Milta Power, they had to take a long route to get to their looting spots, and they're going to have to take an even longer route now back to the zone, so they may not be at full strength when they come in.
No, it's going to be a long trek here for many teams. No one unfortunate enough to be as far south as military base,
yes,
but it is going to be Faze with the longest trek that way. So TSM, they should be able to go north and into the zone, but right now we're already seeing Penta sending the scouts out looking for those centered compounds. Now, the thing with Water Circle, or at least Water comprising most of the first zone, is that you hope that it gets adjusted out sooner rather than later. So now looking at the northern weight of this zone, they're going to be looking, all of these teams, for compounds not so much north but south of center. So it looks like right now we have Razmiki transitioning away from a very powerful compound there. There are 3-story buildings in that spot. You've mentioned one of your favorite compounds in the game, but even the northern George area should be good. Zoktan Nam already transitioning 2 on the scout this time around.
Let's hope their early phase of the game is better than what we saw in the beginning. And it's not a military base, and so we're going to see if it may just be a military base thing that causes all these, not mistakes by them necessarily, but their troubles in the early game. And it looks like they are going to be safe for now. They've made their way past all the teams in there. Well, they continue to go to north. They may run into Simsy from Penta, who the compound that he's in is another one of the really strong compounds in this area, as well as the one you can see to the west of him that no one is in right now. But actually, it looks like they're trying to scout around the area. Simsy, though, laying out some shots, telling them to stay away. It's up to them right now to make the decision on whether they want to attack Simsy alone, but there's only 2 of them, and so that would be a little risky. Right now that they're continuing through, they see a couple more bikes on the path by. In fact, they're going to stop on their own, take some own shots at Gustav, and they land quite a bit of damage, but don't seem to be able to get the final blows as he stops on the cliffside behind the rock for at least immediate cover from the incoming shots.
Yeah, Zoktan Nam putting some pressure onto the lone member of Lumber Mill, and that's kind of the difficulty that a lot of teams seem to have in these scout phases, is maintaining their scout and staying alive. Staying 4 up into the end game is one of the biggest deciding factors in whether or not you will be successful. So when these scouts are out looking for different spots for their team, trying to stay alive while scouting is one of the biggest factors there. So we see here Udir and Chronix spotting out another vehicle transitioning, and there's just kind of buzzing everywhere right now as all these vehicles are just kind of scanning around, seeing where the best spot is, with 1 minute remaining before the first circle shrink.
Beaver, scout for Alliance, takes a couple of shots. But he's going to stay alive and instead just find some quick relief inside a hut of his own. I don't expect the rest of his teammates to come join up with him in that tiny little spot because that's a lot of bodies there. Instead, they're going to find the tail end of the plane crash. And it will take a lot of shots. And the 8C is driving by. The hill cover is enough for him to get by without taking too much damage, even though we saw just how close he was. And he's going to call that out to Turtle, who continues to make his way past. Don't know if that was a little bit of a slide out. Okay, yeah, no. So Turtle's going to continue to make his way through these two squads. Don't know if they're aware of Vex just to the left. But instead, looks like all these teams are finally starting to calm down. I say that. Auzom gets quite a number good shots onto Penta. Ultra goes down. That's going to be a full-on kill, so Penta actually take one of the first casualties.
And this is the difficulty when you have these transitions heading all the way north. You see Penta opting for that center spot in the zone, working so hard to get it. But when this circle first shrinks, you'll see that Vitality and Faze more inclined just to keep looting. It'll give them more informed position to be able to choose when the circle changes. Whereas all these teams already in the zone and centered will have to react. And I think that's a bit of a shift in the meta we've seen over the last couple of weeks, where teams are not hard pressed to rush into the center and get those compounds. Yeah. That's more due to the fact that there's less teams to vie against. There's only 16 teams in this lobby, and that gives you a little bit more time and space.
Auzom gets a second frag, this time on Minifridge Jr. from Noxious. It's quite unfortunate for their team as well. He's crawling away to try and stay alive as long as possible, but there's no way that he's going to get picked up. He's dead in the water. At this point, it's just, Auzom, is this kill going to get stolen from them? Because there may be an angle from Penta onto Minifridge. Penta being team number 3, right in the dead center with Tomil and Luxno and everyone else in that building. But no, it looks like no shots are coming onto him, and that's just going to be a bleed out. Auzom going up in 2 kills early on to the game. Andy, though, he tries to find a spot on the coastline, and surprise, out peaks Lumber Mill, 2 of them. And it's an easy frag for them as well.
Not the first time we've seen Andy caught out by himself. Unfortunately for Method, they're going to try and answer here, only taking 1 casualty, but that is an important casualty here early in this game.
Indeed, yeah.
So especially with Andy, a high-powered individual able to land a lot of frags for his squad, Method it's important for them to stay 4 up through the mid game, because their strength really comes in their team play later in the game. We've seen them secure victory on the back of the four players working together. So losing one this early is a bit of a troublesome aspect for this game for Method. But we see Wookie Bookie and the rest of his squad split between 2 buildings. It looks like they have no option but to stay right now and stay engaged, poking away at Method.
Yeah, smartly so. Neither of the team wants to go into the full engage to potentially get the full squad wipe. Especially on the case of Lumber Mill. Like, you know what? We got to kill. We got to frag. That's good enough for now. That's good enough for us. Let's just wait it out at this point. Looks like, yeah, now here comes Faze. Vitality shouldn't be too farther behind. They're coming in super late, understandably because they were so far away. And it was actually interesting to see all the teams that were close to the zone at the start are already inside. All of them immediately, there was a clear cutoff between the teams who tried to go for this, who were trying to be first, and then the teams who knew they weren't going to be first, and so they said, let's just be last and we can get a lot of loot. Vitality being one of them, Faze, we have Purge in the farm-ish area, as well as LFO coming in from Primorsk. And so those 4 teams are going to be the 4 coming in late. Luckily for them, none of these bridges seem to be camped, at least by my eyes right now. It'll be interesting to see what position they try and fight for, because if they try and go center, there's really not much space available.
Now it looks like Faze is going to come in on the eastern side of the zone and take that little complex just outside of Severny to the east, provides some decent cover, and essentially is a staging area. As we fly over, we see the shooting range here down below us. This little bowl area is good for natural cover, but does not provide a lot of maneuverability. Faze just edging into Severny, being cautious. Jempty now on foot. The gas station uninhabited. Jempty has got his eyes on this crate. Might be able to pick himself up some nice loot. The crate is facing away, but he does actually, well, there's an 8x there. He might be able to get something out of this. The 8x being picked up off the ground. I'm not sure why someone would leave that behind, but nonetheless, he is able to collect some loot there. He will opt to leave the Kar 98 behind, or maybe that was the AK he picked up there. Yeah. So maybe still wanting for some loot is Faze Clan, as we see the Knights already entrenched inside of Severny. I imagine one of those guys is carrying the crate loot we just saw. But Faze is going to be able to sneak in here into Severny, and we will see this first circle transition finish with Vitality coming in just outside of Razak across the bridge, inclined to use all that space around them. They can't see it, but we can. So it's like TSM Vitality in the clear for now, as this first circle is going to continue transitioning.
Yeah, and Vitality, the player that right when they popped on the side, he saw a player get out of the vehicle and try to scout around them. Don't know if that's to see if they can't move further in then, or just for them to wait. But let's look at Jempty right now on the scout. He's going up right against Lumber. We saw Andy do the same thing, and he didn't survive too much longer. Now Jempty has to stop and turn around, and he's gonna get dropped by Stab with a fallen kill. And again, just Lumbermill not only taking frags off of these teams, they're taking the real big fraggers from these teams. So this is not only making it easier for them, but for the rest of the server to last as long as possible. Because Andy and Jempty being out in the early game, that's a little bit of a relief for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I'm interested to see why Faze, while in the zone and without this transition beginning, decided to send Jempty out as a scout to the coast so early. As we see here, a house breach happening. It's Zoktan Nam versus Wookie Bookie and Trifly. Trifly tried to maintain something here. Looks like Wookie Bookie shooting down onto the Uncharged. Uncharged taking some damage there, but unable to land a kill is Wookie Bookie. So now Zoktan Nam is underneath them, and we'll see if this breach can happen. Brooder actually jumping up without any trade available. You got to wonder here if he's going to be able to do anything. He does have a trade there. Looks like he does have a teammate with him, so Dingle Raves is there to help. Meanwhile, it looks like Wookie Bookie is going to be leaving his friends on the coast, as Zoktan Nam will stay 4 strong after a successful breach there. So a nice take in the center of this new zone. And we'll see Zoktan Nam pick up a nice compound here as TSM is now transitioning into Severny. Severny occupied by 2 teams already. We have Rory coming in. He's already receiving fire. The Knights right on top of him. Voxic, knowing that his compound has been breached, Rory will go down. Kramich taking him down and finishing him with the DP-28. And now it's going to be TSM on the defensive. Will they be able to maintain this push? TSM laid behind only in the barn. So Rory by himself with AMPR. Now AMPR only by himself in that compound, surrounded on all sides by the Pittsburgh Knights.
Do they know that AIM is here, though? Because they got Rory. They could have figured that that was the one mini player, but at this point, it looks like Voxic does have his eyes on the angle that AMPR would be coming from. That window is still intact. And he's peeking around the corner. Trade immediately there. Actually, Kramer's first one to go down. Voxic takes a lot of damage in return. Actually, NPR doing a lot of work, and Voxic doesn't feel comfortable in making that push, but here comes the third from Drayden. Push on through, and that's going to be TSM. Now only down to 2 with Break and Vis on the southern end, being held off by Sir Survivor and FCE just to their east.
This is where I wonder, these split pushes, I think that one played out, maybe not intentionally. Obviously, you never intend to lose 2 players. Yeah. But the way they split push into different parts of areas and try and maintain that, as we see a ton of water still in play here. Is it working for TSM? Is that something that they can maintain? Is it something that is viable from a strategy standpoint? We see here that AMPR was able to pick up almost 2 downs there onto the Knights, but Drayden's rotate into that room. He thought it might have been coming from outside, ultimately taking his vision off that door and costing him. So now TSM down to 2. Only there are still tons of teams, 16 teams remaining. What do they do here in this particular game to continue to maintain their position and try and get into the end game?
Well, looks like we know what LFO are doing, and they are perfectly fine chilling out in their water. They have 2 swimmers and then 2 more on a boat, and I don't expect them to be trying to beach any time soon. Looks like a couple of shots being thrown out from the coast onto their position, but at this point they are playing the long game, and with all this water in the circle, it's a very reasonable choice. You really can't fault them for it, even though it means there's less action for us to watch. But hey, they're here to win. They're not here to entertain. That's our job.
So Zogden Nam still maintaining the center point here. Faze moved into Severny. Knights sharing that territory with them. We see a crate dropping here well outside in the water. Probably not worth the, definitely not worth the risk. That is, what,
This is pretty bad.
whoever is making these crates is drunk. A 249, a cheek pad, a first aid kit, and some ammo.
Yeah,
Great. High level crate right there. So not worth the risk. Not that we would know that, not that they would know that, but Rogue here looks like they are up in this little shack. I like the vision they've got for themselves, looking down onto the shooting range. Yannick chilling inside the hut. And we have Alliance playing Groundhog here, just looking to see if there's anyone chilling down below. There is a motorcycle there. A spooky motorcycle underground is enough to give anybody pause, as Alliance has set up inside the bunker just outside the shooting range to the south. A good spot for cover, but not a good spot for vision. We'll see how Alliance continues through this game. They are in the zone, and now this last zone has revealed it. So Severny's still in, Zoktim Nam still in the center. So now it's going to be, seems like Exalt and Vitality moving in and trying to get dominant position here, or at least safe position, as Vitality has taken a very nice compound to the south, and Severny is popping off.
Yeah, Severny is still a heavy part, and that's where I expect to see perhaps a couple more teams try and make their way into it. But looking on the west side specifically, which is where most teams are going to be coming from, Knights have a really good position. But look at Rogue right now. Yannick trying to make his way past, scouting past that compound, which is held by Zoktu Nam, and he takes a couple of shots, dive bombs into the water, so he is going to stay alive for now, but unable to help his teams, the rest of his teammates, in the meantime, as they continue just their foot trek on the side of the hill alongside that hut. Unfortunately, not able to find a more central position with help from that scout, but at least they're still inside, as we noticed earlier. No, actually, they're getting back in their vehicles, and they are going to try and not bomb in necessarily, but drive into a more central position, perhaps scouting out that this area right north of shooting range is available for the taking. It's a risk, though, because you never know who's going to be inside this tunnel.
I like the positioning of Alliance on that hill. Now Rogue coming to inspect this tunnel for themselves, the bunker having just been abandoned by Alliance. Now Alliance has positioned themselves up on the shooting range hill, basically segregating Severny from the rest of the northern end of the map. Now it's Zoktim Nam who's going to play the spoiler here for them, because that compound being occupied makes their maneuverability very difficult, as we see Drayden putting pressure there as well. So really, it's a matter of deciding whether or not they want to try and take this compound, or at least try and poke away. Zoktin Nam and Alliance could go head-to-head here and essentially establish dominance over this area. So Alliance is going to decide to back it off and come down to the shack, having to give up the hill. So Zoktin Nam scaring away Alliance right now, and that's going to be a big boon for them to try and clear out that hill, which is a major threat to the compound they're currently holding.
Actually, looking at the southeast is Vitality, who we've kind of ignored for a while because they've been slowly sneaking their way in, and they take the crossroad, or at least the cross compound. I don't exactly know what people call it nowadays, because it's not exactly crossroads. But in any case, they're in the southeast side, and so depending on where the next circle goes, they could be doing a lot of damage, but they haven't seen too much action as of now, just because of their safe path into the zone due to their late entrance. Right now, they were actually on Purge, who the blue is closing right behind them, and they tried to make an immediate dash inside, but they came across Exalt Gaming, who now all four heads are turned towards their position. They have to make a long lap around, but still shots being thrown out. Satan, though, does get a drop on Udi or Mayfire, and so that's going to be helpful to allow them to get in without taking too much damage. Don't know if Exalt Gaming want to commit so heavily into this stop once one of their teammates already got dropped.
Absolutely. We saw Alliance there taking some shots at Rogue, who are in this little bunker area still trying to maintain some level of cover, but they now have them hemmed in, as we see Method now pushing in the open towards Stab and Gustav, who have played spoiler for many a scout so far, taking down Andy and Jempty. Stab and Gustav still holding this coastal rock area. Leighton putting pressure there, while 8C has actually swam around behind them. So it looks like Tunican is there as well. So lots of solo players and a lot of factors in play here on this coastline cam. LFO looks like they're maneuvering around. In the zone, however, is Longo. So Longo might have to stop and med here. Tunican also taking damage as he swims along, I believe, unless that's just the trick of the angle. He might be in the zone already. But 8C is ahead, and Tunican is inside the zone. So Longo taking damage. The circle has finished his transition, so it's ticking away very quick here. Longo might go down if he's not careful. He has to stop and med, and he
He's
will
down.
not get it off in time. That's too bad. So Longo will go down to the zone here. And now it's to see if Method is going to be able to displace Gustav and Stab. Right now, Faze also engaged elsewhere. Mikaz and the rest of his squad are spread out, putting lots of pressure onto him. And kablooey, there goes the vehicle. The nade landing true on Fuzzface, and he will get finished off here. So Fuzzface away from his team.
Yeah, don't know if that was just a late entrance, his pathing got stopped, or that was perhaps a fight for control. But here come the remaining 3 members of LFO. Now that their island out in the distance is no longer in the next zone, they're making their quick way onto the beach, trying to smoke their entrances. So it's going to be a hard entrance no matter what. They have Haxede and Mixie right looking at their location, or at least going to be the first people to try and stop them if they are spotted out. FCE, though, at the same time, also in the southern tip of Severny, taking some shots out towards Vexed, but taking quite a few in return. Don't know how much they can commit to this, because 2 members of Vex able to get into that low ridge just to the east of Severny, can help shepherd in their remaining teammates as well. But oh, Nayu, he is spotted out by Mixie, who gets a first drop onto them. Don't know if LFO are going to be able to answer back very well with these 2 remaining players. Well, make that 1 remaining player in Blade Cedo is going to now try and prone his way into the zone. It's a long prone. If that is
And these beach entries are very difficult to manage. There's no cover and a very long run, and all of these players are very good shooters. So trying to get up that beach without taking at least 1 or 2 casualties is very difficult and just nearly impossible without a foothold or a bit of luck, essentially, as we see Rogue here still receiving pressure. Exalt Gaming have moved up to take a look at them. They're still in the bunker here. Rogue now down to 2 members only. Jazza down, Fuffins going for the res. And we will see a transition here about to start. And the circle is moving. Method did secure the spot on the coastline, but has not secured their safety, as they now have to move into Zoktin Nam, who's got the compound on them. AC already receiving pressure late in there as well. So we'll see how Method can get into this zone, if at all, as Zoktin Nam is held right on the edge of the zone, and they will be able to take the hill that we were talking about Alliance holding afterwards. So Zoktin Nam in decent position here to play gatekeeper and to put pressure on all members along this western edge of the zone.
It's not an easy gatekeep for them, because they can't stay in that compound forever, because it's just barely on the side of the edge. But absolutely, they can then, after they deal with Method, that they are at least suspect, if not 100% aware of. Well, now they're aware of, because Leighton gets spotted up by Broder. Broder taking some shots, picking down to 50% HP. Leighton has an easy tree to hide behind to med up, but Broder going around the side trying to find a second angle. And now Leighton from inside the blue is taking a lot of damage, has to continue his heal up. It's not looking very good for him at this point. Able to bandage, able to full on first aid, actually, but Broder is still holding the angle, keeping him trapped out into the blue, making it run down. And yep. That's not going to happen, and that is, I believe, Method out in 13th place.
Yeah, that's a tough break. Method having worked so hard to displace the members of Lumber Mill on the coastline, then get zoned entirely and decisively by Zoktin Nam. They're unable to do anything from a maneuver standpoint and get eliminated. So now we see the Knights getting a favored circle, maintaining their spot inside the zone, as does TSM quietly plodding through the mid game, having lost 2 of their players early, still maintaining some level of safety in their building. But that it looks like Penta in a similar situation, trying to escape here, and now it's all of Exalt having them pinned in the shack. So we'll see here if Penta will be able to break out, but ultimately, Cam, not a lot of options for them.
Really, now they're gonna have to land their shots, and they're already in a man disadvantage, so it's not looking too great for them indeed. And the flip side, Exalt Gaming looking really good for them. At this point, depending on where Zoktin Nam goes, if they go east or south, this could be a fight 4 versus 4 over this hill, and it looks like Zoktin Nam's attention is turned towards the south, at least for the meantime. But at least Penta, they're caught between these 2 squads, and it's not looking that great. Actually, while I say that, though, Exalt, they don't want to stick too heavily into this. They want to find a position in the zone before the blue closes in on them, but while doing so, they may be running into, well, Jazz is alone from Rogue. He's not going to be peeking out from that tunnel, but they could be running into a couple of members, actually the full entire squad of Purge, which is Team 15, holding the very southwest edge of the next zone.
Absolutely. Wick, I'm not sure if he's in a trapping position here, but he will have a direct line of sight onto all these players transitioning in front of him. So Exalt immediately under fire from Wick at this edge of the zone. They are holding them on, or sorry, holding them on the edge of the zone now as it is transitioning. So Breaksco and company trying to find a seam here. Got up to the house at the shooting range, but now they have the zone at their backs. Buffins stuck underground currently is going to have to come out as well. Looking right at Penta, who's receiving pressure from Zooked and Nam. So this transition is going to lead to a lot of deaths. Severny also in transition as FCE is taking some casualties from this off screen here. But right now it's all about Purge Gaming holding out Exalt. They have given up the high ground with the fence. So Exalt might be able to maneuver here, but there are going to be lots of lines of sight onto them. So Exalt, rock, and a hard place going to have to try and cross around. And it's just a bit of a mishmash of action here as Chronix taking some fire. Purge in the dominant position right now with cover. What can you do if you're Exalt here, Cam?
You have to hit your shots, but it's going to be even harder now because Scuffle Magic gets downed by a grenade, I believe. And Wick here, hearing the footsteps around him, holding the backside. May have spotted Breakthrough just the last moment. Has to hurry though because he himself is now in the blue, vaulting over the side. But then he spots Breakthrough. Can he get the spray down? He can indeed without taking too much damage. Actually, any from him. It's all from the blue at this point. Easily grabbing some loot before he continues the run in. And now they have control of the southwest side. In the meantime, Zooked and Nam on the west side of the zone on that ridge, but no one is in except for Alliance right now. It's a big open field in this next zone except for a tower. And so the real question right now is, can TSM hold off FCE? Can they hold off Faze? And yes, indeed, they can hold off Faze because Faze dies to the play zone. But that's also the Knights that they have to worry about. Coming in from Severny, trying to go into that field, but the path through the field is not going to be easy for any of these teams because it's all open area. They can get shot from every position in the zone.
Absolutely. There's only one solid piece of cover there, and it's going to be, difficult to maintain or even get to, as we see the Knights putting pressure now onto Zooked and Nam, having a good hold on that hill, trying to get down into the open here, and they take a bunch of casualties. Alliance is there as well to meet them. So now it's going to be all about Zooked and Nam trying to maintain. Oh, they're going for a res here in the open. Alliance pops out, actually takes a casualty. Bruder Brennish taking a turn there and downing one of Alliance. So Brennish finishing Fever off. Metered right there, starts spraying with the AK, giving away his position. He will trade back, shooting feverishly, and ultimately Meter gets taken down. So Zooked and Nam will maintain some level of momentum here in the zone, but the Knights have already circled all the way out. Oh my gosh, the Knights out of nowhere come in and absolutely destroy what remains of Zooked and Nam, or at least does a lot of damage. Meanwhile, TSM and Vitality very active, eliminating very quickly all of FCE. Cam, this is very hectic.
Absolutely, but the question is right now, Knights, they have two people inside here to try and take position in the zone to allow the other two coming in, but the two remaining in Severny from TSM, that's going to be the difficult part, because Vitality, you can see in the southeast, just on the side, taking a lot of shots on everyone. They are late to the game, but they are here to answer back, and 4 strong, already with 4 kills into their pockets, and they're in prime position to gain a lot more. TSM throwing out all the smokes that they can, trying to make their way into the zone. You can see the Knights, Survivor, and Voxic trying to make their own way as well, taking a lot of damage, both Survivor especially, and actually a drop on a Voxic. Survivor having to heal up too. I don't expect these 2 from Knights to be able to make their way in. They may just be just down to 2, and now Break and Vis taking a lot of damage through the smoke from Vitality and the Knights.
Yeah, it looks like they had the right idea. I like the way that they've made themselves a path in the smoke. But Break did go down, and he is outside the zone as well as Vis there. So they are going to have to continue to try and press. I don't know if the res is going to happen on the Break there. Vis ultimately dies to the play zone, so that'll be it for TSM going out in 4th place. A well-fought 4th place, as now it is Knights and Vitality who have snuck into this game. 4 strong, I believe. I don't know if they've lost anyone just yet, but looking at... Yeah, they are 4 up, and that's not a situation you want to be facing Vitality in.
Absolutely not.
And so it's the Knights in the shack, 2 up. And it looks like we have Purge 2 up as well, and 1 down will go Shiv. So that's a pickup for the Knights, but they can't capitalize on anything right now because they're just too far away. So the poking is going to continue here. Drayden doing his best to do damage, but the damage being returned. So it's no armor on Drayden. Krema, just having been taken down very low, also very low health, having to med. And the zone is now starting to move, or it hasn't started to move yet, but they've got about 45 seconds before they need to move. And Vitality is cutting off their angle to escape. bring in UAZs as cover, and we'll get a res onto Shiv Cam. So this is not looking great unless Purge can rotate and put some pressure onto them. We'll see what happens here with Vitality in the end game.
Yeah, still using the vehicles that they're able to maintain this whole time. Still not a lot of cover, but they're able to make their own. And Wick now picks up behind the rock. He's spotted out by Vitality, takes a lot of damage, can't trade too much in return. And he's at a 1 HP. Can he survive for much longer? That's not going to be the case. Monkey with the final shot onto him. And now it is just Kaint left, trying to stay still. Everyone is dying all around him. And he just wants to try and snake it out to get a clean second, waiting for Vitality to finish off the rest of the Knights. Firing into the smoke, thinking someone is still in there, but that's not the case. But now he sees Cranma jump in, but Drayden trading back shots. In return, Shiv with no helmet, he's going to stay behind and try and deal damage and allow the rest of his team to gain position on the single soul hut that's inside the zone.
I like the aggressive play from Shadow here to come up and try and take this away. They can't essentially zone, they can't get that far across. But they have established presence in the zone. The res coming out. Knights staying too strong, but immediately the pressure comes back. So now Kaint over on your right side, all he's hoping is that the Knights go down here and he can get himself a second place, but he's already started shooting at Shadow. He stands up, and Drayden will take down Monkey. Kaint jumping around, hoping for a seam there, and he gets taken down. So it's going to be the Knights securing at minimum a second place, but the game is not over yet. And he has the Kar 98. He has the ability to land those shots. Araxi moving in. Monkey's still down outside the zone. The zone closing. The Knights do have an edge here, Cam. So it's just a matter of hitting shots, but a lot of damage already been done to both sides. No helmets, no armor on a lot of these players. Ammo might be a concern, and meds always a concern. Scanning is Shiv. Scanning. Looking around. Anything.
Ooh.
What do you do here if you're the Knights?
You just have to hope that you're able to continue to hit their shots. Yeah, the zone does help them out a little bit, but I believe their one bridge is out. Oh, no, you don't stand still for too long. Not against Shiv. He's going to take you down. Kramer falls once again. Drayden, trying to pop out a couple grenades, but he peeks around the side, not going for the res just yet, but it doesn't matter because a nade from Shadow does the trick, and Vitality take game number 3. Coming in very late, only getting 11 kills. But they're able to take the entire thing 4 alive up until the very end. At the same time, though, Knights with a very, very respectable second place finish with, how many is this? 14 kills of their own. Yeah, doing a lot of damage from that sovereignty position.
So it looked like Purge able to sneak in and take a third place over TSM. A little bit of an inactive game there. I think that that split push kind of put a hamper in their ability to frag in the mid and late game, but TSM locking up 4th place with Zoktin Nam doing a lot of work there in the mid game to hold their position in the zone with a respectable kill count to match, and they secure a 5th place. But that was an intense end game. These circles have not been allowing too much maneuverability. But these one-to-one fights have been exciting. That is it for this game. We will be back very shortly for game number 4, and we will see you after a very short break.
Welcome back, everyone, to the fourth and final game. And, well, we have yet to see if we're going to get a copy of the circle for 3 and 2, or 3 and 4. We are going to see pretty much a carbon copy of the plane route. So, once again, another thing to compare with previous games. But yes, this is Auzom Premier League. game number 4, final game of the day for EU. We've seen some great games so far, and actually this is something that I recognize at the end of game 3, Moses, is that while not getting a first place or even really looking to be contesting for a first place, TSM is the only team to get top 5 all 3 games.
Yeah, sneakily good day for them. I think that's something that is undersold about TSM is their ability to react to situations that are essentially, not optimal. So if they lose early, they did put themselves in a decent enough position to ride the circle into the end game. Doesn't mean they're a particularly active team, but again, the idea is placement and trying to do their best. Not a ton of kills coming out, not of flashy moments. We saw some clashes between FaZe and Vitality in game number 1 and game number 2. And, that's something that's easy to remember as we see FaZe landing at their official home of Mill to Power. And that's something that you can kind of remember. But TSM has been, just grinding it out, slow and steady, just getting into the top 5 on the back of good positioning or maneuverability, whatever you want to call it. And they've been able to do quite well. So at least from a position or from a placing standpoint, we've seen teams, and we were talking about this during the break. Talking about we're going Northwest again. So we've been talking about how it seems that the teams that are the most active in the mid game have the hardest time transitioning into the end game. Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible for Cup of Magic to drive his car in a straight line without breakdancing?
Probably not.
Do you think it's possible in some way? And what would you change right now to make the mid game a more rewarding experience for those who exhibit aggression, for those who take fights, for those who do battle, like we saw Method doing their best to displace someone, only then to be in turn rewarded by getting wiped by Zokt and Nam, who were apt to just hold a building for most of the mid game? What would you change?
Well, it's when I first heard this idea, this is an idea posed by someone else a while ago, and I didn't bring this up when we were talking about this just before this game, but I'm going to posit it to you, is that, and it's weird because it feels almost like it makes this game like a fantasy game, but hey, balance is balance, it's a video game nonetheless. If it makes the game better, is the fact that revives aren't free. You have to get a kill and then pick up like an item off of that body to then use that item to revive a teammate.
Oh, like a card or something like that.
Kind of, yeah.
Like if the adrenaline syringe was the only item to be able to res a teammate or something like that. I kind of understand where you're coming from, but a thought here, this would be this is, to go along the fantasy route. We've seen, movies, the Mockingjay, what the hell is that? The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games, where you can reward players. And we saw some news on Twitter about this a little while ago about how I think it's Islands of Nine or an upcoming Battle Royale title might have the ability to be influenced by the viewers. Now, obviously we don't want to see an absolute parade of crates raining onto TSM every Thursday, because I'm aware that there are a lot of TSM fans that watch this game. We have some high profile players playing in this game, Andy Pyro as well. But even then, if you were to secure a team wipe, what if a crate was to just spawn on top? Not like, a plane was to spawn a crate on top of you. You would still have to contest it. But in that area or around you, a crate would spawn, and that would be a bit of a reward. You might have some level 3 armor in there, maybe a new helmet, because ultimately grinding out in the mid and early game leads to your meds being depleted, your armor being depleted, and then you just can't keep that momentum going unless you absolutely destroy everyone in your path, like we've seen in the past. But that's very rare. Even teams like FaZe, even though they're, I would consider, the best team fighting squad in this game, to be able to maintain the momentum and keep going with the aggression.
Who here, which fan of Method paid off Battlegrounds to give Andy Pyro an AWM and an 8x scope and a ghillie suit?
See, that's how quickly they get the change in the game. We were just talking about popular players having crates dropped on top of them, and Andy's just like, hey, AWM landing right on top of me, and there's no one here to contest it. So
okay,
right, yeah, I think just like Jempty's taking down. Oh, it looks like he took down Monkey. They meet again, Vitality and FaZe.
Anyway, sorry, well, it's cutting off your point. I feel like you had an ending that you wanted to go through.
No, not at all. I guess I'm just kind of trying to put it out there to see that there, like, we've now established the 16 teams. I like the 16 team lobbies. I like the circle settings. I think that all of these things are great. I like Erangel. I don't mind if Miramar is not even a part of the discussion. but I think there needs to be incentive for some of these teams to show their skills. You know, Method is a very high skilled fragging team when given the time and space. And now that the time and space is there, I think that these fights should be rewarded, and that's just something that would make the game more enticing for the players to take that action, take those fights, as we see for Method.
Oh, we
Already.
spoke way too soon. It is Karma coming at them heavy. Alliance with a triple wipe onto Method, losing the AW. The Alliance's thank you very much, Courier, bringing this to us. This is exactly what we wanted. Amazon delivery is always on time. Prime is free 2-day delivery. And we got it right on our doorstep. Ooh, that is heartbreaking.
That call sponsored by Amazon. So Alliance picking up a transitioning Method, and now it's only Leighton all by himself in Pachinki. The loot is gone, his team is gone, and now he's going to have to ride this game all by himself. I think they were all three in the three-seater motorcycle, and you know the three-seater motorcycle is not known to be safe on its own.
And they went into that compound without scouting it out ahead of time, whether through one solo person on a bike or using a hill to gain vision and spot into. That's I don't want to assume anything, but that's a curious. I can't figure out a reason.
Look where Alliance is. Look where Alliance is. They came through the middle of the map, through the fields.
Yeah.
Came around the bowl, had to avoid the bowl by the ruins, and then drove right upside Alliance. Probably on the way to the base of the mountain, having that vision with the scope and the AWM. They wanted to probably get a spot nearer to the center of the circle. I'm aware, Cam. I'm not saying it was the right choice.
Oh, I'm racking my brain to why that decision was that. Oh, okay. Well,
sucks.
Hopefully, whatever decision it was that led to that, hopefully something was learned, because that's just,
what's learned is that the AWM curse does not stop haunting you in competitive games. You know, the crate curse is alive and well, and unfortunately for Method, they were at the receiving end of said crate curse. So sad ending for Andy so far, unable to probably even fire around. It reminds me similarly to the games I play. Whenever I touch an AWM, I get struck by lightning essentially right afterwards.
That's why I don't even bother.
So don't even go to the crates.
No.
So Alliance in the center, picking up some nice kills and some loot. And for the most part, we've seen teams settle into their early game compounds. So now, Cam, looking at the teams on the field and the score as it currently stands, TSM has been sneaking their way into the top 5.
Yeah.
FaZe has had a first couple of games. Who are you looking for here in game number 4?
I'm looking to see if Nam can really put it out, because we saw that they had a troubling first 2 games, but after seeing that they're definitely more success on game 3, you have to suspect that maybe it's just their struggles transitioning into the melee base. And now that we get a 4th game, a second one in this series, not in the melee base, let's see if they can't light it up, because they did a decent amount of work. It was just unfortunately ending in that flat plane right under that hill that ended up being the struggle for not just them, a number of different teams. Vitality coming out on top because they were able just to see everyone and just kind of hose them all down, still being 4 strong. So let's see if they can't put anything out this time around with a good position somewhat central in the middle of the map.
So looking at the scoreboard, the way it's set currently, the Knights are in first place, 647 points, a commanding lead over second place Vitality with 532 points. The Knights have 33 kills, the most in the lobby by 10. Vitality with 23. FaZe significantly out of first place, but still holding on to third. Actually very close to Penta in fourth with 421 points. And TSM, 372 points in 5th place. So a large amount of dispersion among the top here, as we see Alliance still engaging, staying active here in the early game. Sigsy, the benefactor of Andy Pyro's AWM, taking down Mr. TV. So that's another pickup here for Alliance, who is very active here early in this game. And we'll be interested to see how FCE responds to the pressure now being applied by Meter. But Cam, there's a huge amount of points. 300 well, a little bit less than 300 points between first place Knights and 5th place TSM. TSM with 8 total kills through game number 3 here. Game number 4 might be a reversal of fortune. But even then, we have teams like Alliance, 6th place, 2 kills. but the only it's a good placing for Alliance considering the kill count. But you got to wonder if TSM picks up a few more frags here, they could very easily be closer to Penta and Faze and up the scoreboard.
Ooh.
Another AWM, 2 8Xs in there. That's a nice crate.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna have you keep talking right now because I'm trying to figure out why my bit rate keeps tanking.
All right, no worries. So just around the performance of the teams this evening, as we see the transitioning teams making their way in, Faze top right just by the Pollyanna Lake. Coming in again close to Vitality. I don't know if this is it can't be intentional, but the circumstance continues to put Faze and Vitality in each other's paths. Alliance now shooting down onto the held compound outside of the Georgie Mount, the North George Mountain, South George Mountain, I should say. So Alliance looking down off of Everest onto the garage compound just to their north. We'll see if they wanted to keep transitioning along the top of this thing, maintaining that vision. But I've been very impressed to see here VZ. Easy for him, 4 kills so far, picking up all the kills on his team. TSM a little bit north of the river, holding a spot that I've seen many teams hold in natural cover in the hills. That's going to be a good spot for them as the Knights now come under fire. FCE and Alliance pinching them between the road, the yellow house and the mountain here. So the Knights trying to find a spot. Alliance might want to come over and take a look at Voxic using that motorcycle to scout out this area. We see the circle transitioning again now, and the shrink has come in. TSM and everyone will stay in, but that river, the ever-present river, still essentially cutting the play zone in half. But a lot of even spread between the south and northern portion. We don't see any explicit need for river play just yet. Exalt Gaming and Faze getting a little close to each other. Faze actually coming to a very powerful spot in the map, picking up a nice compound there. Looks like they're just scouting, being slow. Mini Fridge Jr. and the Rector Obnoxious. There's a lot of poking happening right now, so we'll see how this continues to develop. So Alliance now opting to choose the ruins over the mountain, crashing into the church next to Noxious Gaming. We see Zokton Nam actually pressing right on top of Mini Fridge Jr. Mini Fridge Jr. shooting some shots onto Diggle Raves. Diggle Raves in the UAZ, having to veer away, headed to the water. I'm not sure if he's going to have to use it just yet, but he should be able to get away as Mini Fridge Jr. is establishing his territory here just outside the ruins. I like it. Cam,
yeah,
report on the bit rate.
All I can assume right now is just the ISP is screwing up. There's nothing I can do other than just pray, but that's all it says here. He doesn't even need to do that because he gets another shot at that AWM. Picked up off of Method and gets a kill on the Sigsy.
So Sigsy actually taking down,
no,
I
Sigsy
believe
won't
that
get the kill
was,
onto Mini. Oh,
yeah, Mini Fridge. Yeah, Mini Fridge. Mini Fridge is down. So Alliance has taken up residence in the church just south of Noxious. So Noxious getting down there. Simsy in the river already. I think he's being held out as the Knights, Vitality on top of him, shooting down from the bridge area, and Faze there as well. Faze posturing now.
Ooh,
Look towards Vitality. They are stuck on the bridge. Faze now firing down, and Vitality having to back off. So Shadow sneaking away, no shots landing except for potentially on his vehicle. They're going to have to park that thing inside to make sure that they can maintain the tires. So Faze has heard the call, and Oraxi has to jump into the river to avoid them. So now this is where we see Faze at their strongest. When they establish that there is a potentially tied up team or distracted team, they will spread out and take some shots there. Jempty playing the forward man again. As we move now to Wookie Bookie and company, Lumber Mill, moving up towards Exalt Gaming.
It's going to be a straight fight. Don't know if either of these teams is aware of each other's presence, but there's just a small little hill in between them, and they are spotted out. Breakskill gets a spray down. The Trifelli, any trades coming to? No, he gets the full-on kill without being traded out. Hides behind the tree, and it's 4 strong nades coming through from Lumber Mill. See, they can't find their mark. Quite close range, but
close.
Yeah, they're close, but they don't get a drop. Maybe a little bit of tickle damage. You see Breaksco actually down below half HP, but you do Mayfire coming down on the side corner, trying to see if we can't find a separate angle. Gets a couple of damage and actually gets a drop on a Gustav. Understands what Stab's position is as well. Prone's down, also with the jump, just to try and dodge as many shots as possible. And look at that wide flank from their 4th member on Udir's right there, getting the full surround onto Lumber Mill. Lumber Mill trying to go in full retreat. but it's not going to happen. Lumber Mill going out first, losing 4, not even getting a single drop. Can't get any lasting damage onto Exalt Gaming, and Exalt continued to maintain position in the northern end of the new zone.
And you can see that the space that now affords Exalt, they've cleared out all of Lumber Mill. Lumber Mill unable to trade and get anything going against Exalt. So Exalt now has several hundred meters between them and their next team. However, those two teams are TSM and Faze. Penta held up in the compound just to the southwest of Faze, but ultimately this next transition is going to decide whether or not we go north or south here. So we'll see which side the coin lands on here, and we'll see if anyone has to come across. The circle now transitioning. Ooh. It is going to be fully south. So now we will see teams like TSM, Rogue, Exalt, most of Penta and Faze all having to cross. So Vitality in a good spot to zone Faze out. They are already in their vehicles and on the move. They're going to try and, I guess, use their vehicles to either crash or cross the bridge, as we see the Knights now looking like they're going to put some pressure. So ultimately, Cam, if you are these northern teams, is your first thought the water or the bridge?
My first thought is one water, and then, well, maybe not water, perhaps the bridge. But I definitely wouldn't do full water just yet. They could do the, I mean, perhaps if they're able to scout out where the other team's positioning are, they could try and make the full swim across. It's a very hard decision nonetheless. Meter right now holding in ruins. Make a couple of shots at Penta trying to make their way past. Tree is covering his vision for now, but Penta had to stop because TSM coming out right behind them. Rory already getting taken out by Ultra, and Vis trying to continue his UAZ into the water. He is going to be able to make it.
Break and AMPR go down as well.
That's
so brutal. TSM, the initial transition not working out. Alliance picking up a few more kills here. You have to wonder, that early transition into the water, did TSM have some options? They could have gone north around the edge of the zone and crossed around the Georgia area, which is empty. But the straight break into the water, leading to TSM losing 3 members early again with 15 teams still remaining. That could have very easily dashed their hopes for a good finish here, but we have seen them come back from this in the past, so we will see how that works out now. But FaZe also in transition, Chronix and Exalt Gaming moving up to the bridge area. But that is that for most of TSM. So we'll see how Vis can maintain his positioning here in the end game, but he will be spending a lot of time underwater, I believe, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. We see a couple members of Exalt Gaming right here jumping into the water of their own, but at the same time, they're also not in a bad position to deal any damage to other players trying to breach onto the south edge. Meter right now gets some nice long-range shots onto Breaksco, though. The last player from Exalt isn't going to find the rest of his teammates. And, well, and Vis, we actually saw him take quite a bit of damage as well, down to, it looks to be 30% HP. And now that he's coming across the beach, is there enough cover at that specific area to hide himself from Crispier and Mini Fridge Jr.? Because TSM don't want to go out in 15th, especially after they've already established themselves up near the top of the scoreboard. We may have jinxed them, but we'll see what happens. Vis doesn't seem to have any goals on beaching just
Goal
yet.
is to stay alive.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, he doesn't have it. He doesn't want to get on land just yet. He doesn't have to. There's no reason to. It's way too risky. Especially because they definitely know his position. They've been taking shots at him all this whole time.
Yeah, I believe now. Oh, looks like Sigsy spotted another guy out there across. I believe that was you, dear, taking some fire from Alliance. So Alliance very active. Sigsy and the rest of Alliance now with 7 total kills very early in the game. 15 teams remaining with 7 kills. That's a lot. So we see FaZe in the water. They are going to transition across. I think that they're going to want to be the first ones out. So right now it's a matter of Vitality continuing to apply pressure to Exalt Gaming, which will allow FaZe to get out of the river and near where Mini Fridge and the rest of Noxious are held up. FaZe not one to chill in the water, but we will see what this circle does. They might want to wait just a little while before breaching. Sigsy landing some shots onto Mixie in the water. So I'm liking the idea here. They do have to get across, but Alliance holding them into the water, there's nothing they can do. It's so slow to get out of the water. There's nothing they can really do to make that exit any more quickly. But it looks like Penta is there as well. So they're kind of held in. So until Alliance is displaced from this church, There's nothing that these water teams can do. There is rocks. There is an ability to get out. Looks like Mixie will make landfall. Yeah, that's going to be good for them. He now has to put pressure onto Sigsy and get around these trees. So I'm liking the idea here, but Noxious is waiting. Mixie, the first one up, he's going very aggressive, has to stop and wait. He sees the car. He must know someone is there. Now he has to wait for his team to rejoin him. He's going to stop and med. Now, Faze making landfall is a big deal here. If they can stay 4 strong and displace Noxious, they're going to have a great spot here.
Oh, Mixie just gets taken out by a couple of magic actually on just the northeast on that little island between the bridge. So it's not the angle that they were worried about, but it is the angle that deals the damage. And Hexetti also taking down to 50 HP from a similar angle, nonetheless, taking shots from multiple directions. And these two from, God, what team is that? Noxious. They're hearing these shots, so they're definitely aware that people are trying to climb up at this point, but it doesn't look like they want to take the fight just yet. It's too risky for them. Vitality, on the same time, they're not going through the water. They're just trying to bomb into their vehicles, and Shiv takes a lot of damage, but he is able to hide behind the wall and med up. Hope that the rest of his team is able to join him soon, but they do have to worry because just to their south is FCE 4 strong, could continue to do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. Now, this transition has actually alleviated some of the pressure onto Faze, but as I say that, Fuzzface now goes down. That AWM of Sigsy continues to rain havoc on everyone around them. So now it's Alliance picking up even more kills. Alliance very active, destroying all the teams around them, and now this water is becoming a huge choke point. Faze has missed their opportunity, not by any problems of their own or decisions of their own, but this unable to make landfall without Alliance completely gatekeeping them. So Vitality has made it into the ruins. Their prospects looking a little bit better, but Faze unable to get landfall at full strength. And now all the water teams around them have basically surrounded them. Penta coming up right on top of Hax. Hax taking down Ultra, picking up a kill there. So Hax now holding last man standing at these rocks. Lots of pressure still raining down on him, Cam. So this water is playing a factor here. It's going to come out here very soon, but not before it takes a lot of people with it.
I do like how a lot of these teams are trying to make landfall sooner rather than later, because we've seen how water can keep you alive momentarily, but you definitely don't have a shot into the late game. And so I definitely like to see them trying to at least put up a fight. But right now, VZ, his eyes are set behind him, aware that Vitality are close by as well as other teams. But Alliance position, we've seen teams in similar positions right them in the position to take care of a lot of different teams and not be able to fulfill their duty. But Alliance are doing just that. Broder now, though, good damage on a cup of magic. Now he falls himself back into the water because we saw him taking some shots from another angle as well.
I'm really liking the fact that Alliance has managed to stay this active.
Yes.
Without taking too many. I think they did lose one at some point, as we see here. Exalt putting some pressure into Zokta Nam here. Looks like they're going to try and, I don't know if Exalt has a path here. They're just going to use this little ridge to try and maintain some vision, but Chronix having to med here. Dingle Rape's getting the med off as well. So how do these teams get away from this area now that the water is completely out of the zone? That's going to be a huge transition. This is another thing we're talking about. This 4th and 5th circle is an absolute meat grinder, regardless of the circle or the amount of teams playing. Now they all have to come out of the water. They all have to come out of the ruins, and it's going to be a bloodbath here, as there's just no room for maneuverability for a lot of these teams.
The real question is, how long do Alliance as well as Noxious stay trying to gatekeep this edge? Because neither of them are in the circle at this point. Do they stay and continue to do as much damage and keep all these teams out to climb up the positioning rankings? Or do they try and take an early foothold in the zone and then continue that same job but from a more inland place, which would in turn give the teams from the water a better chance? But feed is messing up a little bit. Ah, here we go. Okay. I think we're good.
So we have Vis, the sneaky Vis, still alive, unable to med. However, I Am Larry is just like scoping him out, waiting for an opportunity here. He looks like he's going to try and pop some meds. I Am Larry is recognizing he is going to have to make a break out of the zone. Things are looking very dire for TSM here. He's going to be the last man out of the zone. He's got people looking at him. Faze is still in this. I believe he's, I think Hax is all by himself. He's going to have to wait for Penta to move. Nothing he can really do just yet but wait. So we will see Dingle Raves finish off Chronix. So that is going to be it for Exalt Gaming. And now the transition is beginning. I Am Larry, the last man standing for his team. Alliance actually 4 up. They did not lose anybody. And they have 11 total kills here. We'll see Lux go down. Tamil will go down. Vis is done as well. So Alliance unable to stay and finish off some of these guys. I believe we might have lost Hax. I know Hax is medding. And Zoktin Nam is still 4 strong, running through the open field right in front of Alliance. They're going to have to... Oh, that's actually Noxious to their right. So Noxious actually chilling, waiting for some people to transition in front of them. You wonder if Noxious is going to pop up and try and flank here. They are out of sight of almost everybody. And knowing that a lot of people are going to be coming out of the water, they might sneak in behind everyone, Cam.
Well, Noxious so far have been playing very safe. They haven't been taking shots on the beach in the way that Alliance were, even though they were in a comparable position to do so. But right now, it's actually a fight between Zoktu and Nam running directly into Alliance. Still not yet in the zone, but you can see how they wanted to do a little bit of a spread out and maintain control. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far. Sigzy in the ghillie suit, hiding in the corner, hoping to... Oh, actually, yeah, that nade wasn't enough. Didn't go for the revive.
I think Sigzy and Meter are the last two standing. They did lose 2 very quickly there. So Zoktu and Nam unable to finish them off just yet. Sigzy making some noise, trying to get some fire. Here comes a nade. All he's done is basically telegraph his position. That nade might have landed over. He's going to have to vault. Maybe, I don't know if he's going to try and come in behind here. Meterbot was waiting in behind him. The noise that Sigzy was making distracted Zokta and Nam, and now Meter has found himself inside the zone, but is unable to finish the trade. Now it's going to have to be Sigzy coming in behind, but he's taking too much damage from the zone. So Alliance... He's going to get... So that's going to be Alliance taking 3 casualties here. Sigzy stuck in the zone. He cannot pop over. Renish now has him completely zoned out, and that circle is just going to tick away. He's got no time to maneuver. And just like that, we are with 7 teams remaining.
Yeah, and a lot of solos as well amongst these 7 teams, but a couple that are quite strong. Looking at LFO on the left of your screen, just behind that hill, are still full strong. Saying and Wick here, though, from Purge are only up 2, and they're going to have to run right through this full squad, and they do a complete 180 once shots are thrown at them. Figure out another way, but there's another angle spotted Auzom into the west. It's actually Rogue, who I believe are 3 strong, yes indeed. And so that's Purge. That's a tough break for them at this point. There's really not a safe path for them to make their way through, and they're probably gonna have to fight when it comes down to it. But being down to only 2 people alive, it's not going to be terribly easy for them. But we've seen people turn fights that are worse in their favor.
Yeah, that's, well, as we see, Branish getting taken down by a nade there. So that coming via FCE. Full strength, like you mentioned. Now we have Wick and Sane here. Still holding on. It's too strong, but they're coming up against a full strength LFO held inside a compound right ahead of them. The circle is pressuring them. Not looking great here. It looks like they are going to crawl into the zone here to try and med. Not wanting to give up the kill points, but that circle already doing a ton of damage is likely going to finish these 2 off very quickly when it finishes its transition. Looks like they're going to just try and hold on as best they can. They know that the situation is dire. They have no path into the zone. So now we have Rogue. Oh, he's going to grunt for it and actually give up the kill regardless. And now it's just going to be Wick. Will he try and get in? It looks like he will. I was going to say he had the low side cover, but it just wasn't quite there. So LFO picking up the last remaining kills on the south end of the zone, clearing out the entire area around them, while Noxious sneaking in to number 4 slot will continue through this game. But it looks like it's going to be mostly Rogue, LFO, and the FCE. Remnant, and sort of the full strength FCE. Yes.
Who have a crate. Don't know if they picked that up yet.
I'm not sure if they are inclined to jump out and loot this late in the game. But so far, so good. We are going to have a 3-way fight here. The zone providing little to no cover. We'll see what this next transition looks like, and it might be a tough one here, depending on where it is weighted. If it stays center, it's going to be an open battle, but hopefully one of these teams, if they've said their circle prayers, will get the advantage here.
Looks like the 2 remaining from Noxious Gaming, staying safe so far, or at least suspect, if not fully aware, of Rogue's positioning just south of them. And it looks like Rogue is going to win the circle lottery. Ewang doing the push up. It could be potential 1v2, but he could win this. But if not, we'll be getting a lot of information. He hasn't come across them just yet. Back down to prone again, which certainly Purge have heard. Sorry, not Purge, Noxious Gaming. Now he's going to make the full run back. But again, no shots from Noxious. You have to... I mean, at one hand, you want to say, why are you guys being so safe? On the other hand, Hey, they're already
Well,
fourth.
Crispier can see him. What they're doing is they're waiting to see who's there. They know that with this many players left alive, there's at least a couple of full-strength teams left. If Crispier makes those shots and Rogue has 4 players with him, those shots will, be in vain and they'll be easily eliminated. But right now,
Oh, it's
looks
FCE.
like FCE has come up from behind and they're doing the exact same thing that we were just talking about. FCE coming almost out of nowhere and eliminating Noxious, so picking up some nice kills there. 1 down, Yuho is down, so they're gonna have to get the res there. So now it's going to be a battle for this side of the hill. They do have the low side cover, but Rogue has already cut that sight line off. You see Jazza has that sight line on the low side of the hill, so he can provide info for his team. But LFO lurking full strength outside the zone. It is moving slowly, but moving nonetheless. Now LFO is going to be coming in right behind Rogue, and the shots ring out. Jazz's low side position now compromised. Bladesito taken very low, having to med. This is going to be intense, Cam. We're going to see a lot of action here very shortly.
Yeah, here comes a full rush of LFO up to Rogue's position. Rogue can't get a full drop just yet. Right when I say that, Fevin takes out Longo. Bladesito also goes down. So it's 2 for 0 so far. For FCE gonna come in and deal damage back in return to Rogue. That is going to be the case. Trades back and forth across the board. Now the Blues coming in is pushing these 3 teams all together, and I don't know who has the advantage at this point in the game. Fluffin sound goes that it's not Rogue. Rogue are down out. It's actually FCE. Still 3 strong, still 3 standing in the middle of the zone, and only 1 remaining from LFO, who has to revive his 2 remaining teammates, or make that 1 remaining teammate. And I don't know if he's going to be allowed to do so. Don't know if there's any space for him to do so with the blue, without vision from FCE. Juho, you see there on the top, peeking around the corner. They have their eyes set everywhere. They have no clue where Nayu is.
No, this is going to be a situation that's very dire for LFO. FCE, the benefactor of those situations, where Rogue and LFO were essentially battling each other, trading, and then FCE picking up a few kills. So this looks like it's FCE's game to lose, as Longo is down and there's nothing he can do, as it looks like he has been spotted, and now Nayu is receiving fire, and that is going to be it, as FCE come out of the blue and into the win here, #1 overall, picking up some nice kills through the end game, whereas LFO rode their position into a #2. Rogue 1 man down, picking up #3. Noxious crawling their way to #4. And that is Wick, Kane, I Am Phil, and Sane picking up #5. Zoktin, Nam, and the rest. Alliance, a sad but very active #7. Look at all of those kills. That is an intense. That's for a #7 team.
Yeah,
you gotta see like how much that was, like a great boon in the mid game, but to prove to our point earlier, not necessarily reflective of end game success, Cam. So that's tough for them.
Looking at 16 kills, that's a scoreline they expect to see for 1st or 2nd place, not 7th. And at the same time, FCE, they do come in first, but 10 kills, so they were quiet for the most time. But hey, it's all about placements, it's all about positioning at this point, so good for them to come out on top. They took the final fight when they needed to. They didn't go straight into the zone from their positioning on the east-northeast. They wrapped around the top and were able to crush Rogue accidentally, but crush them nonetheless. Against Bladesito, Nayu, Longo, and Dynamic from LFO. Good games all around, and this is the first time that we actually see none of the previous top 5s in this top 5, so this one's really going to upset how today's standings are going to go, which could affect a lot, because if you all remember, Auzom's point system isn't just a straight copy-paste from the points that you earned in the series. Each series is treated as its own game, and so that makes things a little interesting and makes things a little different.